Brought to you by the Chaos Gods. In the name of Sanguinius. Your favorite chaos-based war show. That's some nice armor. Welcome in, Rogal Dorn! Roll with Jellyman. Take Gorilla Man, Cleverman. Revoke Gilgamesh. Choose your side wisely.
Put it in the Beasterium.
I knew you were gonna. And rise up against the Emperor of Man. Hello, everyone! Hi! Thank you, Mateo. I worked so hard on it. You guys wouldn't believe how long that took me. Hi, Florian. Hi, Kirst. Hi, Dan. Hi, Stern. Hi, Sindri. Hi, Liam. Hi, Billmaster. Hi, Wolfade. Hi, Alpaca. But yeah, what do you guys think? I'm gonna show you one more time because I'm excited. I worked so hard on this. And I want to make sure everyone saw it. Brought to you by the Chaos Gods. In the name of Sanguinius. Your favorite chaos-based war show. That's some nice armor. Welcome in, Rogal Dorn! Roll with Jellyman. Take Gorilla Man, Cleverman. Revoke Gilgamesh. Choose your side wisely.
Put it in the Beasterium.
I knew you were gonna. And rise up against the Emperor of Man. Bro. I did it! I did an intro! Had to fit. I had to fit the walking in. I was so excited. I was like, no way. Can I do this? It's my first ever Warhammer edit. Like, editing together Warhammer clips. But I worked really hard on it. I was like, all day. It lit heretical, it is heretical, and it's the best, and it makes me so happy. And today is the birthday Baldermort rodent Snow stream, and I'm excited because y'all said I was gonna cry, so I guess we're ready for that. But yeah, no, I was super excited. I really wanted to show you guys. Hours I worked on that because I wanted everything to work, and I do edit, but I'm not a very good editor. So like, this being my first Warhammer edit, I was kind of happy with how it turned out. So thank you guys. And thank you for being here for my birthday stream. Makes me feel happy. Okay, are we ready to get into Baldermort? And if anyone has any tips on how I can improve it, DM me, like for real. Just let me know, because I always want to improve. But yeah, no. I guess. And thank you, Sindri, for saying it was looking good. Because I really did work. Considering how many times I listened to that song, I was not sure if I was on the wrong channel. Luckily, it's free use. So I was like, this'll be perfect. I was like, this is it. This is the song. This is what we need, because we are warriors against the Emperor of Man. But are you all ready?
Welcome, gentle listener. I will apologize immediately to you, for I have been a liar of omission. You may have seen me extol the joys of the game in my bat rips and product reviews. You may have heard my passion when narrating the beginnings of the lore.
Hi, Jagan! Curse, what do you mean, no you're not? No you're not what?
But I have kept you in the dark for your own protection. I have been keeping something from you. And I feel it is now time. For there is a reason that Warhammer 40k is not just liked, or even obsessed over, but loved. Warhammer 40k is truly loved by its fans.
It
for
is.
very good reason.
Yeah, I agree.
A reason I am about to reveal to you in all its bittersweet glory. It is not the toys, as splendid as they are. It is not the painting, as therapeutic as it is. It is not even the socialization and relaxation, which I laud so very much. It is the escapism. It is in its depth. No other fictional universe I know of, not even that of the Star Wars saga, has such depth. It is encapsulated in one terrible moment and one single image, but you must understand it to understand why it is so potent.
No way.
What I call the longest second.
Sorry,
It is
sir.
contained within the story that I am about to tell you. But the moment I speak of is the defining instant that evokes such passion and loyalty in this world's adherents. It is why I consider the tale among the best and most heart-rending fiction in modern Western literature. It may never gain the acclaim it deserves, and I certainly will not be able to do it justice. But I will try.
I believe in you,
So-
Baldermort.
Gentle listener, put your hand in mine, metaphorically, and let us go to the darkest point in the universe. That which I call the longest second.
Sounds about right.
Let us see why the Warhammer universe is so important to so many, why it stands the test of time.
I'm so excited.
So, let us explore the existing lore of one of the greatest heroes, possibly the most tragic hero of the
Rodent Snorn.
Warhammer universe, where this moment is contained.
Thank you, Dagan.
I introduce to you, gentle listener, the tale of the Primarch of the 7th Legion of the Legiones Astartes,
I'm aware.
to the Praetorian of Terra. Welcome to the tale of Rogal Dorn.
Rodent Snorn, we got you. Yes, I do, thanks to you, Liam.
Now, let us begin our journey. I must give you the briefest of snapshots of history, which I will cover in further detail later, because it has such a colossal, overbearing import to the story I must relate today. Also, do bear in mind that this is merely an introduction to Rogal Dorn. To cover his history would simply not be consumable via this medium without a plethora of sittings. So be aware that I will revisit segments of this history in greater detail in the future, if it is requested. In a time of abject horror, a time when humanity was almost extinguished, a man arose to save us all. This individual was the man later known only as the Emperor of Mankind. For in the future, humanity had developed and bestrode the stars, forming a mighty confederation of planets far and wide. But as with all things, it was not to last.
I actually was asked to do it. So on my Twitch, I have what's called a impromptu sponsor. So it's where they give me someone and they say, this person has just sponsored you. Give us your best sponsorship. And there was one for the Imperial Fists. And I was like, if you're good at fortification and nothing else, if you're a big autistic Minecraft fan, then I have got the exact place for you. And then I was like, damn, how did I not end up following them?
The means by which ships traversed the galaxy was called a warp drive, transporting into another adjacent universe known as the Imperium or warp. Ships could travel to far distant stars in fractions of the time it would take them in the real world, the Imperium. So the Human Federation colonized the stars when they developed these technologies. Technologies that would awe the people of today, well, for that matter, those of the later period of the 41st millennium. Humanity believed itself untouchable. Its robotic armies, the men of iron, were without number. its fleets so advanced none, not even the ancient race called the Eldari, could match them without huge cost. Humanity was ascendant and felt its time had come. It felt invulnerable.
Savants.
But thus do all falls begin, with hubris, with arrogance. A string of things happened over a very short period of time in the grand scheme of things. But do not worry, as I shall cover them all in more detail in my own inimitable style at another juncture. But let us list them now, so we have context. The men of iron, the very armies of humanity turned on their masters. Hardly novel, but the way in which this impacts is phenomenal and very distinct.
Why did they give him a giant, mech dick? You just finished The Lion in the Forest. They are really doing some good character development with the Primarchs. I'm excited to hear about that. Called the Emperor an idiot savant, but he never get past the idiot part!
But we shall get into the nuances another time. Just know that much of humanity died in that ages-long struggle, which they barely won, with the assistance of others, against their own automated army. When humanity was on its knees, still recovering from the holocaust that was the cybernetic revolt, further disasters then struck. The warp, which facilitated fast and light travel, became almost impossible. Huge warp storms closed off much of the galaxy and made travel effectively impossible. As the Confederation of Planets of the Humans had always relied so heavily on trade and cooperation, the effects were immediate and catastrophic. Entire worlds would previously be cities or industrialized and relied entirely on the produce of their neighbors. These planets' populations swiftly went into famine and then into starvation.
Florin, I don't like how you didn't put Fulgrim on that list and you put Dorn there. That's crazy. Crazy. Absolutely crazy. Lion is very forgiving now and actually acknowledges he screwed up. Okay. Interesting.
Rioting occurred across the galaxy, and the human civilization was swept away. Planets that relied on the goods and equipment produced by their neighbors were similarly unable to survive, or regressed into feudal worlds where the rule of the sword and might alone were all that one could hope for justice and peace. It was a time of strong men. On top of this, humanity started to realize its potentials again, and psychers, those able to tap into the energies of the warp to create wonders, or defy.
I was trying to change my background to the Chaos Purple for Fulgrim, and it just didn't work. So just imagine I did that. Don't want a ban now, do we? Yeah. I'm watching you. Calling me a heretic. You're right.
By the rules of the galaxy, started emerging with increased regularity and with increased ability to harness the warp. The sad truth is that planets and societies that embraced this Nova Homus, the new man, the Psyker, were eventually to regret their openness. For as the Psykers emerged, their powers to tap into the warp started to attract evils that had never yet been encountered by humanity in the real world, the Imperium. Psykers would succumb to the dark whispers of the denizens of the warp and be possessed. Denizens that the Imperium now called demons, and entire sectors would fall to their predations.
Bricky can come for me. Come on, Bricky. Try and take out this heretic.
A demon is almost impossible to defeat without a fully trained and astonishingly experienced and powerful psyker on one side, or the kind of technology and weaponry that was fast disappearing due to the regression of huge swathes of human civilization. It was not to be, as there were none to train these nascent psykers, none to protect them. The carnage and enslavement of these beings went unchecked for the most part, and again, the population of humanity shrunk even more.
I agree, Rodent Snorn is boring. Perty is forgettable. Ferris will boy. Petty, you hate though? Yeah. No, I feel you.
Their freedom torn from them, and their lives reduced to that of cattle, chattel, or fodder, for the whims of their immortal and godlike masters.
Hey, Florin, I think I could take Ricky. As long as it was in a real fight.
And Xenos alike. As humanity weakened, those races with which they had allied with to match the threat of the men of iron, their allies, all turned on them. Perhaps this is the propaganda of the Emperor, but none live who can gainsay or refute his reading of a past that he alone survived. For the Emperor is immortal, and has lived for a very long time.
Is the Emperor immortal? Or is he just a perpetual? I don't think they're the same things. Because, like, I feel like the Emperor can die, right? If we are fighting for the right to be a heretic, I'm joining. Let's go! Heretic! 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 No, but immortal means you can't die. Perpetual means you'll always come back. That's the difference for me. Immortal means that, like, you just can't die. That nothing will kill you. Yeah, exactly. Immortals can be perpetual, but all perpetuals are immortal. Did no one take their SATs?
Thus did humanity get assailed and enslaved or destroyed, also by their erstwhile allies. A crime, a pain, that the Emperor has never forgotten, and his sons have been reminded of ere ever they embarked on the campaigns of the Great Crusade. This period is named the Age of Strife, by others Old Night, and it deeply affected the entire subconscious of the human race, scarred it beyond recognition. For thousands of years, humanity was beaten, killed, enslaved, and corralled. We were almost stricken from history, and would have eventually been so, if it were not for the coming of the Emperor of Mankind.
Well, no, because perpetual doesn't always mean you come back straight away. It can be that you do come back with your memories, but you don't come back immediately, not always. I think it definitely depends on where you're getting your definition of perpetual from. I think this has now become an English debate, and I don't think that we have the time to get into dictionary definitions and like definitions amongst laws. So we'll just say for now, maybe the Emperor is immortal, potentially.
On the birth planet of humanity, once called Earth, now called Terra, Terra, the Emperor, who had watched all the ages of mankind,
Dylan coming in to defend me immediately. Thank you, Dylan.
arose. He threw off his lifelong rules and fetters that prevented him from ever revealing himself. Before, he had no need, but now, this eternal human, the most powerful of all our kind, reckoned that there was simply no alternative. Terra itself had become a wasteland of feuding techno-barbarian states with the technology to create biological and mechanical terrors. It was infested with evil psychos and immoral wizards, entire states that had fallen to control by Xenos, the Imperium's term for aliens. All the populace of Terra could do was look on in horror as their lives were effectively hell.
Oh.
There was nothing but darkness and evil.
Well, he kind of would have to, because didn't he, like, wipe Horus out of existence? So, like, I'd assume so. What I know, the Perpetual's body is still intact. Perpetuals come back in the same body pretty fast. If the body is not usable, it takes time depending on the power level. I mean, he disappeared in the War of the Beast. That's a question mark, not a confirmed death. That is a fair point. My canon is the Primarchs are lesser warp gods. They don't really die, and that's why Horus' killing was so huge. Well, Horus wasn't a Perpetual. I don't think we knew enough about Horus to be sure on that. And Angelo, welcome in. The reason the Emperor does not heal is because his soul is separate from his body. The Emperor is ironically more god than Emperor. But does that mean that he is not in fact immortal? He is just perpetual. He can return, but like his mortal shell can be destroyed, which is different than an immortal where you're basically like unkillable.
pain and tyranny. Until the coming.
Stan, thank you. That's what I was thinking. Like, I believe that they're ageless and I believe they can be perpetual, but I don't believe they're immortal. So, Stan, you are a G. Thank you.
Of the Emperor. Within a scant few hundred years, he had created his Custodian Guard and his Thunder Warriors, the precursors to his Space Marines, and took the fight out to the lands around him. He began the Wars of Unification. We will skip to the end of this period, as I will update you as time goes on, with the lore of that period as I can.
Well, you saw my intro. I'm going to be working on it.
But needless to say, the Emperor crushed all before him, and unified the humans of Earth, of Terra, and destroyed any and all outside influences that had helped to bring humanity low. But this was just the beginning. The Emperor prepared a Great Crusade, a great army to go forth from Terra, and with but one goal alone.
So he's the good guy, yet he just set up a planet to explode on the case that he dies. Come on. Not necessarily the line in the new books. He sees he's slower than he remembers, but he thinks it's some kind of curse. It turns out he's just old now. That is hilarious.
The saving of humanity. With his genetically engineered warriors, the Adeptus Astartes, his Space Marines, he prepared to take back the galaxy in the name of peace and justice. As the Sol system fell to his designs, the technological armies of Mars were added to his forces, for Mars had survived semi-intact the Age of Strife. Although a shadow of the power of the human confederation, the tech priests of Mars still commanded great power and
Alpaca, welcome in.
Had fleets of warships and terrifying forces of titans, colossal vehicles of war. With Mars on his side and his genetically engineered armies growing apace, the Emperor took off into the galaxy on a twofold mission. The first, as stated, to bring freedom, wisdom, and safety to the beleaguered humans spread across the stars. The second mission was, while moving ever onwards and outwards, to find the suns he had built. For there were 20 legions of superhuman warriors, the Astartes, that had been crafted and grown, but each was different due to their template being a different Primarch.
That's funny.
The Primarchs, which I will cover in more detail soon, were 20 demigods. The 20 sons of the Emperor that he genetically designed, forged and prepared to lead his armies in his Great Crusade. They were made from his very own genetic stock and in his image. But in a terrible moment before their birth, each was taken in their capsules and spread amongst the stars by the powers of chaos. The gods of chaos who hate the Emperor of mankind.
Don't worry, I am listening and I am getting invested. I'll try and like rodents and all, alright.
Naming him the Anathema, seemed terrified of the power the Emperor would have if he had his sons with him. But they were not able to destroy the Primarchs for some reason. So they found a chink in his armors, a hole in his wards, in the Emperor's palace under the Himalaya mountains, and whisked away his sons and deposited them on worlds across the galaxy. Thus, as the crusade moved outward, it would, one by one, find the Primarchs, the very sons of the Emperor, and mighty sons they were. Each dwarfed a Space Marine as much as a Space Marine would a normal human, but not just in size, but also in intellect, subtlety, skill, reflex.
Hey, the Undertaker special, fuck you. Fuck you. On behalf of Fulgrim. Honestly, it's a miracle that Gulliman's hair hasn't turned white by this point, true. Just explaining why Baldermort is being the way he is with the Emperor. No, I get you. I do. I understand, Kirsten. Don't worry. I'm much worse to the Emperor.
Reflexes, wisdom, and power. Truly, the Primarchs were titans of old and heroes the like that would put Perseus, Achilles, or even mighty Heracles to shame. And so it was that the capsule that contained the infant Rogal Dorn landed on a planet called Inwit, An ice world and a hard place for humanity to even survive on. Locked in its orbit around the sun, one side of the world was ever shrouded in darkness, the other in light, but neither.
If Primarch age according to stress, Gilliman would be a 110-year-old mortal man. Better not be stressed out after a 10,000-year power nap. I want to nap that long. I do as well. Hello, alpaca. Are you here to say happy birthday by any chance?
Either prosperous or easy. Inwit's sun was old and gave off little heat or light, so the planet was more akin to a ball of ice than what we would consider a planet for human habitation. The populace of Inwit were hardy and stern, as they had
It's in 2 days. We're just celebrating today.
no choice, as weakness was death. A harsh civilization that bred stoic and rugged determination as a matter of course. To quote,
Thanks, Mateo.
conflict against the roaming clans was common, and young warriors learned how to defend against their clan's enemies as early as they learned how to endure the death touch of Inwit's merciless chill. They were incredibly quick learners, and had an innate sense of an object's functional value, and most importantly, they have the strength and intelligence to conquer those who possess knowledge they do not.
I'd kind of settle on a place called war. Look at it this way, if Terra were to blow up, it's game over. The Emperor will return in his flesh, Terra, and keeping him prisoner. His body is holding him back from returning. Yeah, but also, like, he's like, oh, everything's gonna collapse if I, like, come back. And he's all dramatic about it, you know what I mean?
Long ago, before the coming of the Emperor was even a dream on night-shrouded Terra, the people of Inwit began to create their own realm in the stars. On every world they took, they assimilated, realigned, and reinforced. With each conquest, their culture and learning grew, but Inwit itself remained unchanged, even as it became the center of a stellar empire. The ice hives and clan disputes remained, and while their world birthed starships and ringed its orbits with weapons stations, its rulers kept to the old ways, the ways that had created their strength. The warlords and matriarchs who commanded armies amongst the stars, still living lives little.
But, like, didn't y'all say, like, well, one of you said that he would come back immediately? I don't think he would. I think it would be a good while before he came back. But at the same breath, it's like, yo, taking 2 steps back to take 10 steps forward may be a better choice. Because Chaos Gods are perfectly reasonable and never want widespread destruction, right? Well, I think Slaanesh is pretty chill, personally, you know. I mean, you shouldn't build on a project that requires you to open a portal to hell on your home planet, but Games Workshop rated. Primarchs age through the state of their souls, which can be seen in their physical bodies. The Horus Heresy left a mark on every Primarch that hasn't healed to this day, which is why he looks old. Okay. There is a huge planet that's just a big fat guy I give up on.
Easier than their vassals. It was as part of this burgeoning empire that Rogal Dorn grew to manhood, and then to rule its domains as emperor. Much of his early years remain unknown, or at least little talked about. It is, however, certain that in the cold and darkness of Inwit, a boy named Rogal by his adoptive kin rose to lead the House of Dorn, also known as the Ice Caste, and then to the rule of the Inwit cluster. The patriarch of the clan that raised Dorn became an adoptive grandfather to him, and taught him much of tactics, strategy, and diplomacy. Even after he discovered he was not blood related to his grandfather, Dorn held his memory in high value. He kept a fur-edged robe that had belonged to the man, and slept with it on his bed every night. His qualities married perfectly with those of Inwit, and he pushed their empire further than any other. Rogal led and trained his armies and fashioned spacecraft the like of which had not been seen before.
How do we get that demon out of the sword cursed?
Rogal then discovered a piece of luck. On his voyages of discovery, his ships came across a relic of the past, a great and powerful weapon. For in the Inwit system there was a vessel from the dark age of technology, a battleship of vast size which
Agreed.
Dorn named the Phalanx. With this as his new capital ship and flag, he moved out and continued the work of his forebears of Inwit. He expanded the empire across the neighbouring systems at a frightening pace, the hardy people of Inwit following wherever he led.
Let's get to the Phalanx.
Rogal's fleets then made contact with the outmost pathfinders and rogue traders at the vanguard of the Great Crusade. He was the 7th of the 20 Primarchs to be discovered by his father, the Emperor of
Kind of pathetic to have ties to someone that isn't isn't really going to help the Imperium, but okay.
mankind. The meeting was a joyous one, for Rogal recognized the greatness in the Emperor and his connection with him the moment they met. For the Emperor, the blessing and joy was magnified by the discovery of not only a son, but a
Yeah, it's the one on the screen. Well, it was on the screen. It was this one. That one. That's the Phalanx.
thriving and powerful military culture as well. Rogal Dorn offered the mighty ship, the Phalanx, to his father, the Emperor. So loyal was he, so swiftly. But the Emperor gave it back to him to command and bade him to take command of the Astartes, the Space Marines, that had been made out of Rogal's own genetic stock. Effectively, Rogal's long-lost sons. Dorn accepted, but he had conditions. Dorn did not speak a single word to his legion when he first met them. He is quiet and brooding, a demigod watching them while they tried to please him. He insisted he watched them in combat, and watch them he did. When the battle was over, he finally broke his silence. Rogal Dorn informed them that they were warriors, but they had much to learn. So, in his...
And everything he taught them was about fortification. But now I can't look at the Imperial ship the same way again. That's so funny. It's all headcanon, not like there's 100% canon on Primarch or Space Marine physiology when it comes to aging, or that Games Workshop constantly changes it. Yeah. It would be nice to have some more answers on the aging thing, because I think it could have a real big effect on like the routes that we go down in our own headcanon.
inimitable way, Rogal forged his connection with his legion, the only way that could ever have happened, by example. Dorn trained his men, and his leadership and guidance complemented their existing skills and honed them to a razor's edge. The 7th Legion had merged with their Primarch more seamlessly than ever before, and became a thing of dread and wonder. For the reason why the sons were so like their father, the Imperial Fists of the 7th Legion, I will leave to their own video, but it was a match made in heaven. It was perfection. From there, the days of the Crusade began for Rogal Dorn and his newly forged legion, the 7th, the Imperial Fists. The Crusade was a constant struggle, a constant war, but one Rogal was more than equipped for in every way. He started fighting alongside the Emperor as
40k fans, what's happening, Games Workshop? I don't know. Oh, that was the speciality, siege warfare, true. Dante is black hair and apparently despite being 1500 years old, most Ultramarines look like old men by 300. Damn.
all of the Primarchs did, bar only one. When he had been moulded and the Emperor had decided it was time, Rogal was seconded to the forces of his oldest brother. I say oldest, as in he was the first found by the Emperor, the longest serving at his side, the most trusted and trained by the Emperor. He was Horus Lupercal, the hammer of the Emperor, and later
Imperium Secundus. I love how some of the names, like, I know we were talking about naming conventions in Games Workshop earlier, but some of their names are so on the nose. So on the nose, and it's hilarious. Because he's Primaris now, he had grey hair before. Sounds like a skill issue.
his War Master. Rogal finally serving alongside not only an equal for first time in his life, but one he considered worthy of his respect, and perhaps a little adoration. For to Rogal, Horus Lupercal was everything a Primarch and statesman, warrior and leader should be. Rogal and Horus were fast friends, and firm ones. Once Horus himself stated that his legion, the Lunar Wolves, later be called the Sons of Horus after Alinor, were the finest in assault, and that if you met the Imperial fists in war, that it would be an unending stalemate. The irresistible force versus the immovable object.
Funny that they never truly got to have that kind of duke it out because Horus got destroyed from the universe.
So high in Horus's opinion was his loyal and redoubtable brother Rogal. They fought side by side as brothers on many campaigns. They thought they would never be anything but the closest of friends. But Rogal was most often in the theatres of war led directly by the Emperor, and became known to be like a shadow to the master of mankind. Rogal also made bonds with other Primarchs over many campaigns thereafter, but he was not charismatic or outgoing, and could be known as blunt, so did not always fit in or act in a way to elicit true friendship. The other Primarch he shared a special bond with was, of course, the one Primarch that nearly all of the brothers not only respected but loved. It was Sanguinius, the Primarch of the Blood Angels. In Sanguinius he found the traits that most exemplified the goal of the Crusade and the best in humanity, despite Sanguinius's obvious mutation, the wings that grew out of his back. Rogal and Sanguinius's relation.
Wait, Glorious Hawkboy is like the best thing. Fabio, he does kind of look like Fabio. I can't disagree. I mean, if someone was going to have a siege off with Rogal, it must be Peter Turbo. How do you think that would go? Sanguinius for the win? There is a lot of Sanguinius fans in this community, I can't lie. Maybe it changes, like Dante can't do a monochrome rave with his hair. Maybe.
Was only to grow into one of true camaraderie and respect. In the dark times that followed, it was always his brother Sanguinius in which he trusted. In the war to end all wars, it was his brother the Angel that strode forth when he could not, despite Rogal wishing with all his heart that he could go instead and save the Angel, just in case.
Nice.
It was also his brother Sanguinius alone who shared in the burden of the defense of the palace. But we get ahead of ourselves. Sanguinius, Rogal, and Horus formed a special friendship that few understood. They had something in common that only one other shared. But for that, we must wait for the moment.
Warhammer
In the
40.000.
Crusade, the
Alpaca, get off my Twitch! Don't be sending TTS. I don't want to have to deal with that. Oh my god.
forces of the Imperium pushed forever out and out, further and further. None could stop them. None could gainsay their power, their purpose, their path. And in the Crusade, all of the worst horrors of old night, the period of humanity's weakness and need, were highlighted in graphic display. The Xenos tyrants they fought, crushing humans under their feet. The mad sorcerers and psychers who dominated all life for systems around. The degradation of humanity was finally over whenever
Yeah, if it's the best out of 3, we do need one more.
the Crusade arrived. The Crusade, as far as Rogal was concerned, brought emancipation, safety, and hope to all of the lost tribes of humanity, and it punished their gaulers, their abusers, and their foes. Where other legions moved forward in lightning swift raids on
Thanks, Alpaca.
board planets into Imperial compliance fast, but moved on as quickly, it was not the way of the Imperial fists. Where Horus might have won the Imperium,
Hey! Chaos. Yes, the ball prick may not have been my leader, but like, still, Chaos can say whatever they want. It's Chaos. Never gonna lie, I like some Vilka Fenrica. I don't know who that is. But who's more fabulous and beautiful looking? Fulgrim? Fulgrim.
it is said that Rogal Dorn built it. Wherever a war had been fought, Rogal set up defences and hard
Come on,
points,
Bill.
castles and keeps.
Oh, the space furries. Yeah. They are pretty cool. Sanguinius? Guys. Y'all are being so rude. Fulgrim, obviously.
So that no insurrection would rise. but also so those worlds he conquered were defensible, and their peoples left with pride. He built each world up and did not move on until he had improved the conditions of all those who lived there, as his brother Horus had taught him, and his father, the Emperor, had instructed him. Rogal believed. Where others fought for the battle, or for glory, or for accolades and honours, Rogal fought because he believed. He believed in his brothers. He believed in his father. But most important of all...
Dan. Etu, Dan. Etu? You also? Are you gonna go against me in this? How dare you?
He believed in the dream.
It's the Hog Boy!
The bright and beaming dream of a humanity free, safe and happy, where they need not fear the skies or the dark or
He doesn't
privation
need
or
wings!
ignorance. Rogal
He got snake-aliciousness.
fought for a better tomorrow for his entire race, and he built that better tomorrow with every castle, keep and border he constructed.
Thank
Rogal
you.
believed in the dream of the Imperium of Man.
Stern's opinion on Fulgrim is why he's a mod.
The Crusade came to a head finally with two great campaigns. One I cannot mention here,
Yeah,
but the other was the campaign at Alanor. At Alanor, the greatest collection of greenskins ever witnessed occurred, and the forces of the Imperium of Man rose to the occasion. It was the Emperor and Horus Lupercal who met this threat head-on. Others were involved, but it was these two titans of war that met the leadership of the Alanor orcs at the heaviest of the fighting.
Alright, Dylan, we don't need to get that deep into that one.
On the day the great orc war boss finally was brought to Brook, the Emperor himself was saved by Horus, who beheaded the greenskin warlord, and the battle and the war was over. In recompense for this, by the mountain of accolades and proofs of loyalty, fidelity, and ability, did the Emperor elevate Horus Lupercal
Kinky.
to the exalted state of War Master.
Me
The
too.
Emperor set him above his brothers to lead them as he had done beforehand. And with that, the Emperor then left the Crusade to return home to Terra to deal with other issues.
Hell
It was
yeah.
one of the greatest days in the life of Rogal, for he could genuinely admired his big brother and supported him, and, despite never showing it, as it was not his way, he was so happy for Horus. He thought no other would have made sense. And Horus repaid that trust and augmented it by secreting himself for a time and asking Rogal to help him
Hell yeah.
reinvent himself, to define and agree the identity and duties of a war master, and to set a bar that Horus must always hold himself to. Horus came to Rogal as one of his closest friends, but also as one of the most accomplished and powerful of all of the Primarchs in the arts of war. Also, to some extent, he came in statescraft, and how to manage his other brothers, for he had not forgotten that Rogal Dorn had once, before his finding by the Emperor, been monarch of an empire of warriors. The administrative approach of Gulliman would not have suited the situation, much as he is lauded for his ability, as it was a congregation of warriors of legend that Horus would have to ride, have to bend to his will, his direction. It could not be done by diktat. After a time, the Emperor recalled Dorn to Terra to be his Praetorian. The Emperor of Mankind had his body and palace guards in the Custodians, the 10,000. But yet,
I think he meant sequestered. Hey, come on, Baldermort can make mistakes sometimes. It's goddamn Baldermort. Mongol swagger levels over 9,000. I think that's why I can't get on the Celeste train. It's that aspect I'm not looking down on anyone, but it's a hurdle I can't clear. I get it, Dylan. I'll convince you eventually.
yet he called back Rogal to be with him, to protect Terra and the Sol system, and to improve the defences of the Imperial Palace, much as they thought they would not be needed. Many were aggrieved at this singular honour, Perturabo of the Iron Warriors in particular railed against this favoritism shown to Rogal.
He does.
But Rogal did not care. Rogal Dorn knew that he was the best man to be at his father's side. I have a theory as to another reason that Rogal might have been at the Emperor's side.
Ooh.
But again, we must wait for that dreaded moment. And it was at this point that the horror began in earnest. And
Liam, stop training us with the commissar! Can't break the holy chastity belt the Emperor protects. We'll see.
nothing Rogal had seen before this prepared him for what was to come. Nothing could. Whilst he was leading a small contingent of his hand-picked guard on his way to Terra to take up his position as Praetorian, Rogal found a lost ship hailing for assistance. It was the Eisenstein. Aboard were Death Guard who demanded to speak with him immediately. In that fateful moment, that most charged of encounters, Rogal Dorn found out the terrible truth. The Death Guard warrior, Captain Nathaniel Garrow, was the harbinger of doom to Rogal, as he informed the Primarch that his brother, Horus Lupercal, had turned traitor and had recruited others, and they were now in open rebellion against their father. For this, Garrow nearly lost his life, as Rogal was so staggered and enraged by this infamy that he doubted Garrow so much he nearly killed him. Even though...
Is he serious? He's just straight up like, I'm gonna kill you because I don't believe you're telling me the truth, when it's his own brother that's the one who's lying.
Enough evidence came forward to prove the word of Garrow and confirm that the worst nightmare had started. The War Master, Horus, had turned his back on the Imperium and their Emperor, and was preparing to make war on all those who remained loyal to the throne. Poor Rogal. One cannot imagine the crushing, heart-rending desolation he must have felt at this news.
Almost strangled him on the spot. Like, that's the thing. I think the Primarchs are too impulsive. I think, realistically, even though, you know, Dorn is a big fan of fortification, he's still too impulsive. I think all the Primarchs have a problem with impulse control. It's almost like he swung on Garrow and when a Primarch swings on you. I believe the quote was some of the lines of, "How dare you speak to this of such a hero." Damn. He was furious. How dare he claim that Horus, his brother, the Emperor's favourite son, would ever turn. Spoiler! He did.
Why, he could not accept it immediately. For one of his brothers turning against the Emperor was one thing. Perhaps Angron, or humiliated Lorgar, or even the insane Conrad. But for his oldest brother, his big brother, the one he admired the most, the one he had vested the most hope in, to have fallen. In that moment it shook Rogal Dorn to the core. Out of nowhere, the hope, the dream of the Imperium was wounded, as it had never been before for Rogal. For one of his brothers to turn would have elicited rage, not confusion. How Rogal must have hurt then. To have the greatest and closest Primarch to the Emperor, his War Master, a most trusted son, to...
Stop eating butter. Stop eating butter. This is what you came to me with. The lion punched off a loyal Dark Angel's head for suggesting the use of psychers against demons during the Heresy. Convoluted story of treachery and conspiracy amongst the Emperor's sons. Collection of ill-informed opinions and rash actions made with the base emotion and not cold clarity. You know, that's pretty much all of them. I mean, it's relatable though. If someone came to you saying a family member you were close to did something horrible, you wouldn't believe them right away. Depends. I'm naturally skeptical of everyone in my life. Wait, what flavour Doritos? And can I have one? The Primarchs are very attached to their brothers. It would have been hard to accept love lines. I would know. I've been heartbroken. Sorry that. Oh, Billmaster, I'm sorry to hear that, my man. If you ever want to talk about it, we're here. And to be fair to Dorn, that was like his best bud of 200 years, and some scrub was telling him that his bud was a traitor and everything they believed in. Wait, was it? I'm sure he killed Nemiel that way. Damn. Only if you chase him down with Mountain Dew will you achieve ascension.
Turn on him was beyond belief. For Horus Lupercal had turned his back not only on his sire, not only on his loyal brothers, but on the dream of the Imperium. Also, this would have thrown Rogal into such confusion. For if Horus, the brightest light, and the Primarch who seemed so ardently to believe in the hope of the Crusade, for Horus to call it a lie was almost too much to bear. Rogal must have wanted to take flight to confront his brother immediately, not to fight him, but to implore him to return to the light. But no, Dorn, the warrior inside the soul of this Primarch, must have known. As soon as he heard that 3 of his brothers had fallen to the darkness surrounding Horus, he knew. He knew that Horus was not alone, and that the others would buoy him up and keep him on the course he was on. The likes of Angron or Mortarion were understandable. But Fulgrim? Shock upon shock. Horror upon nightmare. Grief piled on grief. With such surrounding him, Rogal knew that Horus would not be able to be taken from his path, would never be able to bend the knee and beg for clemency.
Is that the quote from the book? Let me do a dramatic reading. Difficult is a winding labyrinth, or a complex skein of navigational formulae. This is against our very creed and character as the Emperor's chosen warriors. Do you not know what to make of you, Garrow? You carry yourself like an honest man, but if you are not a traitor and a deceiver, then you can only be possessed by insanity. Damn.
He needed to be adored, so did Horus. So the die was cast.
So we lost Angron then. Yeah.
And Dorn knew it would not wash off.
I would for the spikes.
Dorn sent his fleet to the Istvan system where the treachery was occurring and took himself and his elite to Terra to inform his father, the Emperor.
Technically he was tricked into turning though.
Horus Lupercal had turned to evil. He had been seduced by the dark powers of corruption, the dark gods of chaos. More than this, he had turned other brothers with him. The visitors from the Einsenstein reported that Horus had turned Angron of the World Eaters, Fulgrim of the Emperor's Children, and Mortarion of the Death Guard. 4 full legions were in revolt, led by the most able general of them all. Rogal returned to Terra and his father. The Emperor issued a full 7 legions and their Primarchs to destroy the rebellion. As the arch-traitors mounted their defense and raised their banner.
Lauren, I think that Angron had a reason that he should have turned well before he did. You're the guy who killed all his friends and have nails in his brain to be turned traitor. Why?
On Istvan V, the retribution force of the Emperor prepared to land. 3 legions were to make landfall first and assault the strong points of the traitors, to then be supported by the other 4. The Salamanders, Iron Hands and Raven Guard landed on Istvan and began their furious attack on the positions of Horus and his treacherous brothers. What happened next is too complex and too important to cover here, but in very brief. The 3 were tricked. They were betrayed. For the other 4 legions that landed behind them, the Word-Bearers, Alpha Legion, Iron Warriors, and Night Lords, had already gone over to the ruinous powers. They landed and set up fortifications, then joined with Horus's forces and simply blasted the 3 loyalist legions to smithereens. and when they were done with that, they drew out their chainswords and engaged in close combat.
What book's that from, Curse Knight? It sounds cool. One that got me was, why would you not look at the Night Lords if they were traitors? Nobody liked Curse. To be fair, we still don't know what side Curse is on. There was actually a lot of loyalist Death Guard during the Heresy era. The remnants of them got absorbed into other chapters and or helped found the Death Watch and the Grey Knights. Ka-chow! Know this, the only reason I do not tear you limb from limb for your defamation, so I know my brother will reserve that pleasure for themselves. Final flight of the Einstein.
The butchery was great. The 3 loyalist legions, the Salamanders, Raven Guard and Iron Hands, were taken by surprise, betrayed
Dead.
and nearly exterminated that day. But worst of all, brother actually slew brother. Although Corvus Corax, Primarch of the Raven Guard, and Vulcan, Primarch of the Salamanders, managed to escape that terrible trap, Ferrus Manus, the Primarch of the Iron Hands, was slain, his head cut off his shoulders by his erstwhile best friend and closest confidant in all of the Primarchs, no less than his brother, Fulgrim. What occurred to the Imperial Fist near Istvan will be covered in their own video, but after a short period Rogal issued their recall to the Sol system to assist in its defense. His legion, despite having the upper hand against a more numerous opponent, and were winning, did as instructed.
Well, there still was more people on the side of the Imperium than Chaos, even when Horus turned a few of the legions.
And, taking casualties, they withdrew from combat and made their way to Terra as instructed. For the Imperial Fists were ever obedient to their lord, no matter the situation. The next few years were a living hell for Rogal Dorn. He was given command of the remainder of the Loyalist armies as the new War Master of the Emperor, outnumbered and constantly outmaneuvered by his brother, Horus Lupercal. The war always seemed to go against Rogal. He fought like a tiger, organized like a whirlwind, and was as tactically astute as any who could have filled his role. Better perhaps even than his opposite number, if their roles were reversed. But the inevitable occurred, and the Loyalists were pushed back again and again. Nor would all of his brothers obey his commands, nor follow his lead, despite the stakes involved. Leman Russ, Primarch of the Space Wars, went off on his own rampage, nearly slaying the traitor War Master, but he did not finish the job when he had the chance. Then he and his legion and fleet were forced into consecutive battles, all designed for one thing, the one thing Rogal feared most: the prevention of the Valka Fenrika, the Space Wolves, from being able to return to defend the Palace of Terra. Rogal was practically alone, his father fighting in the Webway, his closest brothers defeated or in far-flung battle and unable to answer his klaxon call.
Russ ain't afraid of no fool. Garrow is a Chad, he sounds like a Chad. Everyone loves to shit on the Ultramarines for not being a bigger help during the Siege of Terra, but Horus went out of his way to make sure the Ultramarines were busy elsewhere because he feared them. Damn. Still though, only one struck by such a terrible ailment could be as you are. Yours is the blindness that only a brother may have. That of a keen judgment, clouded by admiration and respect.
All to the throne world. He only had Jagatai, a brother that few knew, fewer still liked or trusted, despite him doing nothing to deserve the reaction. Rogal was, to all intents and purposes, so very, very alone. At this point, I will apologize again to you, my gentle listeners, for I cannot bring myself to rush this subject. The very soul.
Oh, no, it is finished. Okay, we're going to move on to the next video, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually replay my intro while we all go to the bathroom, because this is going to be 3 hours. So each one's going to be an hour. I think if we take a break every hour, stretch your legs, go to the bathroom, come back, grab a snack, then we'll all stay healthy whilst doing this. So I'll be right back. Brought to you by the Chaos Gods. In the name of Sun.
Your favorite chaos-based role show.
That's some nice armor. Welcome in, Rogal Dorn! Robert Jellyman, take Gorilla Man, Cleverman, People Gilgamesh. Choose your side wisely.
Put it in the beastery.
I knew you were the man. And rise up against the Emperor of Man.
Brought to you by the Chaos Gods. In the name of Sun.
Your favorite chaos-based role show.
That's some nice armor. Welcome in, Rogal Dorn! Robert Jellyman, take Gorilla Man, Cleverman, People Gilgamesh. Choose your side wisely.
Put it in the beastery.
I knew you were the man. And rise up against the Emperor of Man.
Brought to you by the Chaos Gods. In the name of Sun.
Your favorite chaos-based role show.
That's some nice armor. Welcome in, Rogal Dorn! Robert Jellyman, take Gorilla Man, Cleverman, People Gilgamesh. Choose your side wisely.
Put it in the beastery.
I knew you were the man. And rise up against the Emperor of Man.
Brought to you by the Chaos Gods. In the name of Sun.
Your favorite chaos-based role show.
That's some nice armor. Welcome in, Rogal Dorn! Robert Jellyman, take Gorilla Man, Cleverman, People Gilgamesh. Choose your side wisely.
Put it in the beastery.
I knew you were the man. And rise up against the Emperor of Man.
Hello, I'm back! I was reading your comments. You were fast. Also, where is the noise? The noise is here. I apologise. Sorry about that, guys. I'm back. I was just reading your comments.
Welcome, gentle listener. Before we continue, I would implore you to listen to my first entry concerning Rogal Dorn, the Praetorian of Terra. Without the context therein contained, I feel you would be robbing yourself.
Alpaca, there is no secret prize if people go to Twitch. Why are you trying to drag people to the Twitch chat? Come on, Alpaca.
Of the impact of the information that is presented here, but as always, I am at your disposal. Also, I would have it noted, gentle listener, that I have omitted so much as to make a veteran of the setting enraged. But do remember that this is an introduction only, and not an attempt to encapsulate the entirety of the events to which Rogal Dorn was party, nor an attempt to explain the entirety of the drama. For there are many perspectives, so much information, that people retreat into the world of Warhammer for months, years, and even decades as a
How long are we going to be in Warhammer, everyone?
refuge from the vicissitudes of the world. As I stated in my previous entry for Rogal, it is the very appeal of the Warhammer universe. Its scope, its depth. So, let us continue the tale of the greatest story of the Warhammer 40k universe. The reason it is loved so deeply. Its very soul. I speak not of Rogal Dorn specifically, but of the dreaded moment. The darkest point in this fictional world. What I call the longest second, which is contained herein.
Is Iron Baby gonna cry? Who need the pacifier, Iron Baby?
First, let us paint the scene. We left it with Rogal on Terra, Earth, the birthplace of humanity. But let us familiarize ourselves with the cast of players, the stars of the dark drama that is about to unfold. For without this knowledge we cannot appreciate the man of whom I speak, Rogal, and the titanic struggle which he faced, practically alone. We know that there were 20 Primarchs, but 2 had passed from history before the rebellion of Horus, forever afterwards called the Horus Heresy, began. 8 fell to chaos and sided with Horus, making a full half of the total number of the Legiones Astartes, the Space Marines. First, we shall discuss those Primarchs and their legions that remained faithful. 9 should have been loyal, so why was Rogal so outnumbered and alone? The simple truth is that Horus Lupercal fell to evil far before he raised his treacherous banners on Istvan V, years before. While invested with the power and authority of Warmaster, High Lord and General of all of the forces of the Emperor, Horus plotted, schemed, and planned. He knew which Primarchs, and by dint of this, their legions, that would never recant their loyalty to their father, the master of mankind, the Emperor. So, knowing full well of his inevitable need to rebel openly, he prepared. Oh, long did he prepare before he turned the colour of his cloth. We know that he schemed to destroy a large segment of the Loyalist armies by deed of ambush, as I have related at the betrayal of Istvan V, the drop site massacre, where full 3 Loyalist legions were shattered. The legions destroyed were the Iron Hands, sons of Ferrus Manus, who was slain, the Salamanders, sons of Vulcan, and the Raven Guard, the sons of Corvus Corax. But that left 6 more. So in the months and years before he raised his banners and proclaimed himself, Horus contrived to send them to places so far-flung or dangerous that they would not be able to stop him when the final deed was realized. Rebut Guilliman, the Primarch of the most numerous and most organized legion, the Ultramarines, was sent as far to the galactic east as Horus could send him without raising suspicion. But more than this, he also was led into a trap laid by Lorgar. Leman Russ, the Wolf Lord and self-professed Emperor's executioner, who led the Vulca Fenrica, the Space Wolves, also was sent far afield, but we know he returned to Terra, but then went on a rampage, and was secluded and harried until he was unable to support Rogal. Lion L. Johnson, the Lion, the Primarch of the First Legion, the Dark Angels, was sent to the galactic north. For the Lion was a dire threat to Horus and his rebellious brothers, as he was a natural genius in the arts of war, his legion the most lauded after only the sons of Horus. He was sent as far away as Horus could practically get away with. Horus, like all of the Primarchs, had a natural fear of the Lion on an instinctive level. he was neutralized thus, as the highest priority. Sanguinius, the Angel and Primarch of the 9th Legion, the Blood Angels. Horus knew this particular brother was also a dire threat to any rebellion, and Horus connived to send him into a trap again in the Galactic North. But for the full tale of the trap, we will have to wait until I can perform an entry for this, the most loved of all Primarchs. Ferrus Manus was dead. Vulcan was missing, presumed dead also. Corvus Corax's legion was a shadow of its power, denuded of numbers after the Dropside massacre, despite Corvus's attempt to artificially increase his numbers through cloning. He was betrayed again by the Alpha Legion, and he failed. Thus Rogal asked him, the master of the raid and surprise attack, to skirt the oncoming juggernaut of the traitors and attack their supply lines. Thus it was that Corvus played merry hell with the rear of the traitor advance, but never enough to do more than slow them and annoy them with constant inconvenience. Horus knew his craft and had prepared for all eventualities. This left only Jagatai and his White Scars, and Rogal Dorn and his Imperial Fists to fight the traitors. But there were so many of them, so well led, so many Primarchs in the field, so many forces that had turned. But let us explore them now, the legions of evil, the cohorts of chaos, so we can grasp the magnitude of Rogal's heroism, for any human must be judged by the caliber of their opposition, and oh, what opposition Rogal had to contend with. The forces of evil. Lorgar Aurelian.
What will happen when Corvus comes back? Yo, Vader! Yes, we're about halfway through. Well, not halfway through. We're about a quarter of the way through. I'm very excited. Third? Not more like a third. Like a third of the way through. That we're going to be watching all of this. And then the next episode, because that's what we've got to do. Horus betraying Sanguinius was the one where Horus needed a kick in the balls. I guess Fulgrim too. I vibe that.
The Primarch of the Word-Bearers Legion, who is known as the First Traitor, accredited with being the spider behind the scenes that facilitated the fall of the War Master. Lorgar had turned to chaos years before Horus. He was sent to the worlds of Ultramar, the home of the Ultramarines, and met with them as a friend, only to turn on them in a well-laid ambush on the world of Calth. The attempt was to do unto the Ultramarines what the traitors had done at the Dropside massacre, but though the Word-Bearers attacked with fury and completely unlooked for, the Ultramarines were more organized and ever prepared, and the projected massacre instead turned into a battle that Reboot was winning. Angron, dubbed by many as the Red Angel, the Primarch of the World Eaters, who was sent with Lorgar to the east and performed surprise raids on the worlds of Ultramar, the home of Reboot Guilliman and his Ultramarines, while they were waylaid at Calth. Angron visited a high toll from the worlds of Ultramar, but was soon pushed back by the well-organized and professional forces of the Ultramarines. Lorgar then enacted a huge dark ritual that summoned a warp storm, called the Ruin Storm in history, and cut the galactic east off from Holy Terra. Thus were the Ultramarines and Reboot unable to answer the call to Terra, because they did not hear it. So dire were things that Reboot Guilliman actually believed that Horus...
But first, Lorgar needs to get out of his closet. Oh my god, that's so funny. I personally give that title to Erebus. Fuck Erebus, my man. The ending of this is intensely tear-jerking. I've heard about it, and I'm looking forward to it.
...had already won, and the Emperor was already dead. Thus, he did not even look to Terra until later. Conrad Kurz, called the Night Haunter, Primarch of the Night Lords. was playing a strange game with his loyalist brothers on the other side of the ruined storm. But that is for another time. Alfarius and Omegon, the twin Primarchs, and Lords of the Alpha Legion, were not with Horus's main thrust, but we should get to them in due course. Fulgrim, Primarch of the Emperor's Children, who, over the time of the rebellion, not only fell to evil, but became a demon prince, infused with the power of the dark gods, and twisted out of all recognition in the service of the god Slanesh, the Lord of Excess.
Hey girl!
Mortarion, Primarch of the Death Guard, also became a thing of horror, and he also became a demon prince, but this time to the service of the god Nurgle, the Lord of Decay. Perturabo, Primarch of the Iron Warriors, who had an enduring hatred of Rogal Dorn and all of his sons, the Imperial Fists. Magnus the Red, Primarch of the Thousand Sons, who had also been transformed into a terrifying apparition of evil, a demon prince of Tzeentch, the Lord of Change. All did as instructed by Horus, well, within limits. Their combined legions inexorably ground forward, crushing all resistance in their path. Eventually, they all met with the arch-traitor, the War Master Horus Lupercal.
Still cringe. Funny. Honestly, the Shadow Crusade, the Logor and Angron one is really good. Don't count my bias on this one. Fair. Arterion, goodbye, brother. No. This guy has such a good narrator voice. He really does. He really does. Love you some Tzeentch. Alright, each to their own on that one.
On the world of Alanor Prime, the very site where Horus had been elevated to War Master. From there, they moved forward into the last phase of their campaign, the attack on the Sol system, the heart of the Imperium, where Terra was. This may have seemed like the beginning of a biblical book, the unending names, but I wish to update you on the situation and, more importantly, to graphically outline the forces arrayed against Rogal as the unofficial war master of the Loyalist armies. Each Primarch was a titan of war, a genius, a charismatic leader, and a terror. Every single one of them. Yet Rogal held them back, delaying them with endless energy, tactical brilliance, and unquenchable zeal. He did this for 7 years. Imagine that. To fight against the most experienced warriors the human race had ever seen, trained by the Emperor for decades, if not centuries longer than Rogal or any of his brothers. Yet Rogal Dorn had these forces at bay for over half a decade.
Damn.
He never tired. He never succumbed to grief. He never gave in to despair. No matter how many times he lost, no matter how many times he was pushed back.
You can keep Tzeentch. You can keep him. You're on the right side. You still follow Chaos, Dylan. We're fine.
Jagatai was with him, and at points also Leman Russ, but none had the huge weight of command on their shoulders. Everything that went wrong, every defeat, every setback was laid at the feet of Rogal, yet he never once lost faith. Rogal was playing a game of chess against his brother, Horus, but Horus had 9 queens to Rogal's 2, and thrice the number of pawns, knights, bishops, and rooks. Phenomenal courage. But in all of this, where was the master of mankind? Where was the Emperor, I hear you ask? Alas, the full story we cannot hope to cover here, but in brief. He had returned to Earth to create his own webway, a method of travel that would not be reliant on the warp. And that was so infested with the demons and other enemies of humanity. He was trying to secure the greatest safety of humanity and negate the need for travel via the warp, as he remembered the age of strife, old night, and how warp storms had almost destroyed the human race. Thus he was attempting to create a transit system that would forever remove the need for any human to be exposed to that horrible dimension. He was building for the future, as he so trusted that Horus and his brothers would continue the Great Crusade and bring peace and freedom to humanity. He had expected the outcome to be foregone, or he would never have retreated from active leadership of the Crusade. More is the pity. It is a complicated story, which we will explore more in other notes, but Magnus, before he turned to evil, attempted...
Yo! Old Man Reacts! How we doing, my man? Superhero landing? Very, very superhero-ish. Sorry, we're into quite a dramatic moment, so we've been kind of like fixing ourselves. Liam, is this what you threatened to do? Is this because you said I was being too heretical? I'm not going to deal with this. The Emperor cares about humanity, not humans. I completely agree with you. A human web warrior would have made us far too powerful. It's not difficult to see why Chaos wanted it stopped. But here's the thing. The Eldar have their own web way, so why can't we just co-opt theirs?
To warn his father of the rebellion of Horus. But in doing so he burst the wards, the mystic psychic shields that the Emperor had erected around his palace to protect his web-break project. When this happened, the warp flooded into his subrealm.
Oh, also, oh man, I did the intro. It's ready. I did it. I literally, like, you know what, guys? I know. I'm here to blam. I'm not here to blam. I just came to say hi. Okay, but I need to show you this intro. Sorry, guys. I know you have seen it a few times, but I was telling Old Man about it the other day. I finally finished it. Look, I'm so excited. I'm sorry, guys. I just need to show him this. Brought to you by the Chaos Gods. In the name of Sanguinius.
Your favorite chaos-based war show.
That's some nice armor.
Welcome in, Rogal Dorn! Roll with Jellyman. Take Gorilla Man, Cleverman. People Gilgamesh.
Choose your side wisely.
Put it in the Beasterium.
I knew you were gonna. And rise up against the Emperor of Man. I did it! It was my first Warhammer of it! So, I was actually talking to Old Man the other day because I was struggling with this. And he was showing me some of the stuff that he was doing. And I was like, yeah, I'm working on a Warhammer one. So that's my Warhammer edit. I did it. Old Man, let me know what you think.
The gateway to the warp that was to be the first door into his new webway was left open, and all of the powers of chaos sent legion after legion.
Why are you nuking me? Oh my god! Don't nuke me, please.
Of foul beings, the Neverborn, their demons, to try to crush the Emperor and use his own gateway to invade the Imperium, the real world, on the ground of Terra itself. Thus the master of mankind had no choice but to exert all of his energy and bend all of his will and godlike psychic powers to fending off the endless tide of evil that assailed his very hearth.
Yo, insider training. I'm so happy. You gotta run, no worries. I'll see you soon, Old Man. Oh, I'll be at your stream later. Guys, if you don't know, Old Man Reacts is now on Twitch, same as me, and he will be streaming later tonight, doing some community stuff. So if you're a fan of Warhammer, people, and you're also a fan of me, I massively say, go check out Old Man's stream tonight. I'm sure Liam will be there. And me. But how are we doing insider trading? I have a half-baked theory that the entire Save Mankind with the webway is a ruse, and the Emperor intends to use it as a prison for the gods. Ooh, insider. That's actually a really good thought.
The palace on Terra. The majority of his bodyguard, his custodies, who were even more powerful in combat than Space Marines, were with him in this subrealm attempting to hold the line. Thus he could not break his concentration, his great exertion, for even an instant to assist his son, Rogal, in his labours. I will note now that there is an important figure I am leaving out of this recounting, along with many events and nuances. that of Malcador the Sigillite, but for his history again, we must wait for his own entry. He did his best to assist Rogal, but the burden of the war was not on his shoulders, and not at his command. A psyker of almost limitless power though he was not a Primarch, and could not offer Rogal the support that he most needed. So we can see that Rogal fought on. I can honestly state that there are few deeds in any mythology, fiction or fable that can come even close to the magnitude of the bravery, tenacity or genius exhibited by Rogal, despite it being a constant string of defeats. Those defeats exacted a tithe of blood from the traitors that they could scarce even imagine. But it got worse. Despite the pain of the rebellion to Rogal, the situation got much worse. While he tried to outthink, outmaneuver, and outgeneral a plethora of his brothers, his very rear was assailed, and the stage left Alfarius and his Alpha Legion. Alfarius and Omegon, the only twin Primarchs, had been the last to be found by the Great Crusade, and very late in the day. So much so that the Emperor left his training to Horus. So it was to Horus that they were both loyal. Alfarius and Omegon were the little brothers to all of the Primarchs. They had been found so late. As such, they could never hope to accrue the accolades and glories that others had accrued over 2 centuries or more of the Great Crusade. And what is more, the Alpha Legion under Alfarius and Omegon were very unlike the other legions.
Oh, can I also say I'm also a founder of Old Man on Twitch. So I have the founder's badge, just saying.
They acted subtly and with secrecy, manipulation and guile, where most of the other legions fought directly. Many derided the Alpha Legion and their lords for being cowardly and capricious, but Alfarius gained results all right. Alas, Alfarius was to prove to be a terrible thorn in the side of the Loyalists when he finally revealed himself. His legion had been sent earlier than any other and had prepared the way. Alfarius activated sleeper units all across the Sol system.
When your little brother is the same age as you. That's how my brother feels, because we're only 10 months apart in age.
And brought about pandemonium. Rogal had to contend with so much already, but ever did the sleeper units of Alfarius cause carnage, instability and mayhem wherever they activated. More than this, they shook the very spirit of the Loyalist soldiery, for the Alphas made them question the ability of Rogal, and burned, bombed or sabotaged where the hurt would be most. The hurt most often targeted was the very image of Rogal Dorn and his ability and his authority. It was not only that. Alfarius made it so personal. He even went so far as to inform Rogal that he had informants in the palace itself. How, you may ask? In the Investory, a huge hall in the inner sanctum of the palace, there once stood 20 statues, each a perfect likeness of the 20 Primarchs. 2 were destroyed when the Primarchs fell from grace and their history was expunged from all record, at the command of the Emperor himself. And they are the greatest secret of the Warhammer universe, and not in 30 years has it categorically been stated what happened to them. There are theories. Alfarius' spies blew up all but 2 of the statues, one being himself, Alfarius, the second being Rogal Dorn, a declaration of war, and also an attempt to unsettle and intimidate Rogal, if not the warrior within him, Dorn. But he may as well have been spitting in the wind. Rogal fought for something he could never understand, let alone appreciate. Rogal fought for a dream that clearly even baffled Alfarius. His adversaries continued to underestimate Rogal at every turn, to their later regret, all of them. Rogal also knew that it meant something even more terrible. It meant that Horus had turned years before Rogal knew. Horus had been planning this great betrayal for years. How this must have hurt Rogal, to know he may even have had communication with his brother when he was already a traitor in his heart, if not by proclamation. It is a wonder that Rogal was not driven mad by the combination of grief, strain, and constant defeat. For any other Primarch, even Horus, it would have been too much. Yet Rogal stood proud. No matter the reality of the situation staring him in the face, the inevitability of his defeat, he still believed. Rogal believed that if he just held out long enough, fought hard enough, exacted enough of a blood price from the traitors, that either they would break and fall upon one another, as all traitors and the faithless always do eventually, or that more of his loyalist brothers would come to his aid in the defense of their father. Every day, he knew, was a day closer to the moment when the lion, the angel, or Reboot may arrive.
You're welcome, I just didn't want to interrupt this.
If he could just hold on. Nor was Rogal permitted a moment's respite, even when there was a temporary break in the direct hostilities, as the traitors rallied for another sally. For in these moments he was either dealing with the actions of Alfarius, or he was performing another task he found odious in the extreme. Rogal was the master of defensive war and fortification, no matter how much Perturabo may claim otherwise. He was plying his trade to the highest level he had ever done. He dug deep. Rogal was making the Sol system a death trap of overlapping fire, concentric circles of defences. But his least favourite task was the marring of the Emperor's palace. Over centuries, the palace on Terra had been crafted into a thing of sublime beauty and a testament not only to the power of the Emperor, but the creativity, glory, and beauty possible within the heart of humanity. How Rogal hated to mar it with iron and granite and steel. Colonnades of beautiful marble were replaced with gun emplacements and death traps. Warrens of previously scintillating tessellated mosaic were replaced with traps and hard points. Rogal never betrayed his feelings to those around him, but how he must have wanted to weep for the marring of the work of thousands, the shining beacon of human endeavour that was now replaced with a glorified bunker.
I understand what you mean, Dylan. It's not his worst attribute, definitely.
Finally, as the forces of Horus mustered on Ullanor, Alfarius came out into the open. He had powered down a vast fleet of his ships, his men in stasis, so they could not be detected by any of Rogal's many listening outposts and scanners, and simply used the tides of space to drift him past the defences of Rogal. He was within the net. The Alpha Legion Armada then powered up and began a raid on a fundamentally important position in the outer Sol system. On a moon of Pluto called Hydra, Alfarius was assailing the astropathic choir when he learned, to his regret, that again he had underestimated Rogal Dorn. When the fleet of traitors has simply materialized within his defenses, Dorn reacted with lightning organization and led a scrambled fleet to stop him. The traitors had intended to strike and fade, as was the way of the Alpha Legion, but Rogal Dorn was a master of void combat, that is, war in space. Dorn slung-shot his reactionary fleet around multiple celestial bodies and arrived to catch Alfarius in their act. Without hesitation, Dorn assessed the situation and his fleet attacked. Rogal Dorn received reports that the traitor Primarch was personally leading a force of his elite Terminators into the very heart of the station on Hydra, and Dorn intervened. Dorn appeared and found his brother in the act of slaughtering Imperial Fist defenders. The last to be found he may have been, but he was a Primarch, and none save another Primarch could face one. So Dorn engaged him in close combat.
Dun dun dun.
The battle was fierce, and some say that it was only the act of an Imperial Fist grabbing the haft of the spear Alfarius had aimed at the hearts of Dorn that spared him. But the upshot was that Dorn took the strike on an unimportant segment of his body armor. Dorn, in one fluid movement, cut his brother's hands off, slashed Alfarius across the chest, then took Alfarius' spear and rammed it into him.
Technically that's a Megon.
Dorn then took his mighty chainsword, Storm's Teeth, and embedded it into Alfarius' skull, ending him instantly. The Alpha Legion retreated swiftly, and from that point on almost removed themselves from direct action, and merely provided information to Horus and the traitor
I'll give him that. He knows how to overkill, and I'm a fan of overkill.
command. But this was enough. Alfarius may have died in his raid, but he had discerned every last echelon of the defences Rogal had spent years constructing, and had already sent it to the War Master. Horus would know every last hard point, every last battery, sight and sinew at the defences of Terra and the Sol system. Dorn, the part of the man that was a demigod of battle, strategist and War Master, was the one who executed Alfarius without missing a heartbeat. Perhaps it was the months of frustration, terrorist attacks, the open challenge, the rage he could not take out on Horus and the other traitors. It was the first time Rogal Dorn had seen one of his foes in person, and the rage, built up over more than half a decade of horror, was white hot. Perhaps Rogal might have mourned his brother, but he did not get the time nor space to even consider the brother he had never spent any time with, or built any bond with. Dorn knew that Horus Lupercal was on his way, and all the legions of hell were in his wake.
After this, Vulcan gave Dawn a quick hug. Aw. Overkill is underrated. Well, I wouldn't say that. I'd say it's overkill, but I wouldn't say it's too much overkill. Cutting off all the pieces of your enemy means that there's no way that they can come back. At least if they do, they've got to bring back all the body parts first. Shao Kahn from the warp screaming, "Finish him." I think there should be more Mortal Kombat chants in this. Just imagine if at the end of like that fight it just gone fatality. Like that would have been amazing.
And this is when the heavens opened and the sun shone. For beyond all hope, a fleet arrived in the outer system, one that was loyal. The fleet that made its way at maximum speed toward Terra and made contact. But not any fleet, not any legion, not just any Primarch. Dawn took the notification with stern compose. Of all those who could have arrived, to Rogal, this must have been a dream come true, a balm to that so very weary soul. Of all that could have come, all that could have helped, his secret wish must have been for it to be this one. He had made it through the ruin storm. It was the Blood Angels.
Fuck boy.
And on board was the one Primarch who could have made Rogal sing with joy, if that was his way. It was his beloved, most trusted, most respected brother. It was the angel himself. At last, Sanguinius had come. Rogal was no longer alone. They would face Horus and his vile scum together. Sanguinius was here. When they met, it was a somber occasion, as the two other would not be possible for Dawn. But how he must have felt the weight, the burden, lift ever so slightly. For if anyone could bring hope back to the beleaguered men, women, children of Terra, and even the war-weary Astartes of the Imperial Fists, it was the angel. Like a bright star he blazed, and Rogal started to believe again. Just a little. Enough to go on. Enough to make those traitors pay. They may not live, they may not prevail, But with Sanguinius next to him, Rogal could make a good end of it. He would fight. Even the warrior within, Dorn, must have quietly rejoiced. For none could steady the lines of the Loyalist armies. None other could make them believe again as well. The angel had come, and he had brought his entire legion with him. The Blood Angels, the warriors of the Emperor's own wrath. The
A literal guardian angel.
Imperial fist would stand, but by their side would be the very manifestation of the Emperor's rage. Those traitors were in for a real fight now. Perhaps long enough for the lion or the wolf or the ultramarines to arrive. Perhaps, if they fought hard enough. Just perhaps. But scant time did they have before the inevitable began anew, and their forces of the traitors were detected. The armada of the traitors reached the Sol system and went about their onward plunge towards Terra itself. All the defences of Rogal were swept away, one by one, in detail, for Horus knew of them all, thanks to Alfarius and
But I guess that's why they were built, though, to have those differences.
Omegon. But despite all of the knowledge and forewarning he had, the casual rate amongst the traitor fleet was eye-watering. If anything but the Emperor himself were not the target, then the traitors would have disengaged. The rings around Terra, the Loyalist navy, the batteries on Luna, and every satellite, asteroid, and everything in between was arranged by Rogal Dorn to punish the rebels, and punish them it did. Nor was their advance swift. For 30 days, the fleet was held at bay and cut to ribbons for its troubles. Horus and his brothers had to witness hundreds upon hundreds of their ships, a full quarter of their fleet, burned, blasted, and crushed. But on they came nonetheless. On to Terra. The moment that the traitor fleet was in range, the bombardment began. Plasma and missiles, nuclear and chemical, rained down on the Imperial Palace and the whole of Terra. The birthplace of humanity, the center of the Imperium, was hit by a deluge of mass and corruption, destruction and death, the likes had never been seen before, even during the worst years of the Unification Wars. The traitors unleashed hell and maintained this assault for days on end. Finally, when they had achieved what they set out to do, destroy as many defenses as possible, and sow discord, confusion, terror, and death, did the firing cease and the landing begin.
I get what you mean, Dylan.
Drop pods. Think of a missile that strikes, and then instead of exploding, power-armored marines would run out, fill the skies, streaking towards the ground in their thousands. When this horror began, the sleeper units of Alfarius, those that were left, leapt into action and activated across the entire globe. In mere hours, the traitor marines were amongst the streets and defences of Terra. They massed and assaulted the two spaceports closest to the Imperial Palace, the Eternity Wall and Lion's Gate spaceports. Once secured, the heavens were filled with transports filled to the brim with the mortal armies of Horus. But one could not call them normal anymore. No, far from it. As the forces of the traitors arrived, they again lost eye-watering large proportions of their men and material. As Rogal Dorn...
Well, it's not, I wouldn't say practically the same thing. Isn't Viterbo more weapons focused and Dawn is fortification focused? Like, I guess you could say that they have, that they're both masters of a craft, and that makes it interesting. But if I'm wrong about Perty, I don't know enough about Perty, so do correct me.
defenses and lasers, missiles and plasma rose up to cut them from the skies in their swathes. Debris
Games Workshop seem really strict on the writing.
rained across Earth, Terra, all with the blood of once loyal soldiers of the Imperium on them. But land in their millions they still did. Titans, 40 or more meter tall colossi.
But it's one of those. Emperor picks and chooses who's doing it right based on arbitrary factors that he doesn't provide to his kids.
Of war were landed as well. Much of the force then gathered before the very gates of the palace, cavorting, laughing, and in high spirits, despite the tithe exacted from them. None cared for their own dead, and all salivated at the chance to run amok in the very home of the master of mankind. Rogal and Sanguinius would hold the palace. Jagatai, that lord of fast strike and savage raid, would be deployed beyond the walls. Also, because the White Scars would not do their best work on walls or parapets. Rogal knew where to deploy his brother to the best effect, and thus he unleashed the Khan to do what he did best. Jagatai and his mighty White Scars would punish the traitors with swift strikes and undermine their deployment, harrying them wherever they left even a millimeter gap. A move that proved to be well made, for though Horus made his flanks unassailable, the great Khan found a gap and punished the traitors mightily. He later retook the Lion Gate spaceport and turned its guns on the incoming traitors and exacted a high price from them. Jagatai.
I get what you're saying now. Percy's more of a siege breaker while Rogal is a siege builder. Okay, yeah, no, I completely agree with you. No, you're all right. It's hard to articulate the difference between Dorn and Percy and their respective legions, but yeah, they are the same in most.
I did move on the Eternity port, but was repelled. All the while he was harrying the forces of Horus, he was making sure.
Not if he keeps crying, dear.
They never had an easy time. He slew many in the name of the Emperor. But for now, we must concentrate on the defense of the palace. More will be revealed during his own video. Rogal was a whirlwind of orders, a flurry of control and direction, as he overwatched the defenses not only of the palace, but of the entire planet of Terra. As a loyalist war master, he had to direct the entire defense. Thus it was his brother, Sanguinius, who manned the walls of the palace. But he saw, and what he saw must have revolted him on every level. Where the traitor armies had previously been entire sectors or systems away, they had been a foe to battle, but not a view. Now Rogal could see exactly what they had become. As the forces of chaos, for they were not just rebel Astartes and soldiers anymore, massed before the walls of the palace, Rogal viewed them close up for the first time.
They were way too similar for their own good. Nothing to siege against a horde, that's true. Well, it's a lot easier to build defenses with the guy helping knows all the tricks to breaking something. True. It can make them a useful contact. Khan is such a jovial fighter, it's hilarious. He's a roast god.
Through his screens. The vile mutations, the twisted forms, the degeneration of once proud brothers in arms into creatures of nightmare. Amongst a throng of corrupted Mechanicus, the baying soldiery, and possessed demonic Astartes, Angron pushed forward. He was huge, and his inner hate was now clearly marked on his body, for he had become a demon prince, and now little remained of his semblance. He had not only given up on his humanity, he had become the very thing that the Great Crusade had striven against. A twisted thing of evil. And surrounding them all were the worst demons and minions of the warp that had been summoned. Endless tides poured forth by the vile rites of the Thousand Suns. So much for Magnus's innocence. These men showed Rogal and Sanguinius all that they needed to know about the poor, misguided son. The legions of vileness were almost uncountable. Angron strode forward and bellowed at the defending warriors, stating that they were alone and without refuge, support, or means of escape. He derided them and taunted that they should surrender now and beg for his mercy.
Why are you not voting in that poll, Dorian? Why not? Him fighting Imperium, being like, I wanted to fight the leader of the Death Guard. Who are you? Where's Typhus at? Well, he roasted Fulgrim, which I'm not a fan of. The Khan roasted Morty by saying he wasn't worth fighting because he wasn't the leader of his legion anymore.
I felt that in my soul!
Mercy. The mortal soldiery would have cowered. The Statis been sapped of their resolve. Even the redoubtable and bluff Imperial fists, but for his brother. Sanguinius stood atop the walls and sneered at Angron, his light and courage providing hope to all those who would have run. Sanguinius's mere presence, an example, was enough. Some say that he telepathically communicated with the horror that was previously Angron, but all it appeared to those around and below was one simple statement, a look that said it all. Bring it on, scum. Angron bellowed his laughter to the sky, and all around him knew that he relished the fight to come. But some say that he quietly quaked, for why else did he return to his lines instead of assailing the angel directly? Other reports state that the angel went out and sallied forth.
You would lose because you would treat it like a game, like you treat everything. And I would lose because you know nothing of me and I know everything of you because you shout it from the turrets of your battle cruisers. My prowess remains unknown. You have some reputation as a swordsman, brother. But I make no boast on it when I tell you I would leave you choking on it. Damn.
And fought Angron directly, but then retreated back behind the shielding of the wall. So many differing tales. Such an important moment. Rogal could see the legions of his erstwhile comrades turn to unmistakable evil. They wore it with such pride. He could see representatives of so many legions, yet he did not feel terror. He only felt his resolve strengthen, for nothing more than this sight could have told him without any doubt that he was on the side of light. So the battle was joined. A battle so in-depth and drawn out that I must only mention those parts most relevant to the story of Rogal Dorn here. I hope to be able to cover this topic, this mighty clash of arms, from many angles, but today, let us speak of Rogal and his experience. Thrice were the enemy thrown back from the walls.
Black Temporal of Viterbo, part of Dawn. Fair. Actually, yeah, kind of agree with that. From the you could boil down the history of the Imperium to just the story of the galaxy's worst dad and his embarrassing codependent sons. Yeah, no, that's a vibe. Codependency is the name of their games.
But ever they came on. Punishment beyond count was dealt to them by the indomitable Imperial fists and their wrathful Blood Angel brothers. But the tide of numbers was inexhaustible, and they were pushed back. For weeks, the battle raged. Weeks. Each time the traitors and their demon minions breached a barrier or defensive line, they believed it would be the last, that the will of the defenders would sour, and they would run amok at last, only to find that Rogal Dorn had been so very busy in the years that they had been winning battles. The overlapping fire arcs, the warrens of tunnels, the traps, the defences Dorn had erected can only be described with one word: magnificent. Even so, they finally failed. A massed push by the enemy led to the central section of the defender's line collapsing through attrition alone. For no Blood Angel or Fist retreated from anything or anyone without specific orders from Rogal.
That didn't help, true.
The two legions would always be brothers, like no other from this point on. Or so they thought. But the line was broken, and there was but one gate left. The final gate into the palace's inner sanctum, the Eternity Gate. But Fists, soldiery, and angels were trapped on the other side, and Rogal could not extricate them in time. They were in danger of being butchered. It was then that Rogal would have gone to the front himself to save them, to buy them time, for the gate had to be closed. It had to be. But Rogal desperately did not wish for his or his brother's men, or those loyal humans who had fought so valiantly, to be left to the hordes of evil. It was then that his brother, Sanguinius, took up his sword and spear again, and strode forth. We do not know what was said, then, between these two close brothers, but Sanguinius would have stated what Dorn knew, that he, the Emperor's chosen war master, could not be the one. So Sanguinius went out to meet the hordes of evil, to buy time, the precious time needed for...
What is it with this series and nipple horns? It's a fair point. It's not one that I thought would be made, but it's a fair point. But, like, it's also not one that I thought would be made. But, like, vibe?
For their flank forces to retreat into the inner palace. So Rogal was left behind to organize, to order, to watch the chevrons of his men and the Blood Angels moving toward the gates. But ever would his eye be flicking to the one screen that mattered the most. The one containing his brother, the angel, Sanguinius. And what a spectacle he saw that day. For in all of the annals of the human race, no martial display could compare. The forces of chaos could see their goal and their hackles were up, their mouths watering at the prospect of gaining the gate and cutting off the Fists and Blood Angels outside. But more than this, every last one wished the glory and the perverse joy.
We don't kink shame in this place, okay?
As a follower of Slaanesh, I am a staunch believer in non-kink shaming right now. Okay? People want to slice off skin and do things that you may not expect. That's their choice. So what I'm going to say is, I don't know why they're obsessed with nipple horns, but they're allowed to be.
Of being the first to get into the palace's entry. No small amount of them relished also the thought of killing the Emperor's pretty angel. So they threw all they had at him. As the clock ticked, the chevrons moved, the time passed.
Well, you know,
Dorn was concerned.
I can see why.
More concerned than he had been before, as if the angel fell, it would open the gates to the enemy. But also, the crushing effect on morale would be untenable. The angel had to succeed. Each man,
Dylan, don't kink shame. Not in the home of Slaanesh.
soldier or Astartes that passed the angel into the inner sanctum was one more chance, one more second, one more warrior to hold the line. 1 second closer to him giving the order to allow the angel to stand down and for the great gates to be closed. For the man inside the armor, for Rogal, these were the longest moments of his life, he thought then. As every second ticked by, he witnessed his brother fighting as no human had ever fought. He was magnificent. Dorn knew he had to remain aloof, stoic, stable, for all those who watched.
Alright, feet's a little weird. Feet are disgusting. I used to do long distance running. If you've ever done long distance running, you hate feet. So yeah, we'll shame those a little bit.
One whiff of panic, one single display of doubt or emotion could have swept across his command staff like a tsunami. Belief. He had to project confidence and calm, all the while screaming inside. Not Sanguinius. Not him. As he watched, his brother gave no quarter and no ground. Where a round would bounce off his artificer armor, Sanguinius let it hit. Where it would not, he evaded. He was shot at by endless adversaries. It was a blur of activity. When the enemy Astartes, twisted, possessed, or demons themselves, charged him in their throngs, Rogal's heart must have been in his throat. Yet always the angel prevailed. He pushed them back time and time again. Tens unto hundreds. He did it alone. And he did this for not minutes, but hours. Sanguinius held the gate alone for hours. But he ran out of time.
Damn.
As some of the last of the loyalists passed him, the palace itself shuddered. A footfall of such size and power that the very ground itself reverberated to its impact. A great wailing came from amongst the demons and traitors alike, a baying, heralding an oncoming victory. For one had come, the last thing Rogal would have wanted to see.
What's Cabanana? Listening to your Hawk boys so much better than your Chaos boys. My Chaos boys are everything. Alright? Oh man, I am a founder of your Twitch channel and therefore you are funded by chaos. You are funded by chaos. Get over it.
To quote, a huge shape rose up amongst the armies of Horus. The creature was taller than any around it, and as it rose up it unfolded its great leathery wings and took to the air. It was a bloodthirster, greater demon of Khorne, the most fearsome and dangerous of the bloody god's entourage. The demon flew towards Sanguinius, and he recognized it instantly. Its name was Kabanda.
I'm so sorry. That's why Kabanda. You know what? Thank you. I was like, Sindri, I was like, I don't know what Kabinda is. But, yeah, okay. Thank you. Liam, don't be conflicted. Join the correct side. Glory to the truth of chaos!
And he had fought the creature before. End quote. Onwards he strode to meet the angel in the air and issued his challenge. Dorn stood impassive, but how Rogal must have wished to scream at the screen. Brother, get out! Get out of there! To Rogal's horror, Sanguinius strode forth and took to the air to meet the vile creature from the deepest depths.
Right, so I'm going to let you into a secret. Dorian, do not use that emote in here. The moon emote creeps me out so badly. All I can say is, basic though, you make a good undivided follower though. I make an amazing undivided follower. Like, me, like, on Slanesh's team, like, I am probably one of her most staunch supporters, especially publicly. I don't know many other hard Slanesh stands in the community. I would love to meet some. The Emperor protects! No! Liam! How dare you? The Coil of Chaos wasn't enough for you? What is this? Cringe? That's funny.
Of hell to meet his onward rush. And in that moment he saw, as all did, both chaos and loyalist, the microcosm of the macrocosm.
You know what? Do you know what this calls for? If it works. 1 second. You know what this calls for? You know what this betrayal calls for? Fuck that shit, let's start a riot!
Good versus evil. Light versus darkness. Humanity against demon.
I would be an amazing
Slaanesh. Just because I don't like feet doesn't mean I'm not a good Slaanesh follower.
The huge bulk of Kabanda came on with such force that none could fathom. None could understand how one man, for Sanguinius was a Primarch, an angel, but he was also a man, could face such a being and live. Rogal must have wanted to derelict his post, must have wanted to rush outside to help, to save his brother, to save...
Alright, we can have something not in common.
Boss like Harley and Vank in the same room. Listen. I'm gonna start a war with the Warpug if this carries on. I'm technically a Warpug, but I'll start a war. Listen, don't question me. I'll start a war on Twitch, where you have less supporters than I do, technically. Which means I would be the greater army.
the very hope.
But I did give everyone your Twitch name, so, like... Honestly, Dan, you know how wild my Twitch is. That, like, we could start... We essentially do start wars frequently. You're adorable. Alright, I'll hold. Hello? On hold? Okay.
Of the Imperium, if Sanguinius were to fall. But the fury of the battle was locked, and he, as the dutiful son of the Emperor, his war master, had sworn to defend all of the Imperium. He could not move. He could not abandon his charges, the entire race, even for this hallowed son, this beloved brother. So he watched. He watched in terror. To quote, atop the...
Oh no! No man put me in the Discord. I've been called out. Listen. Welcome in but...
The ultimate gate, two mighty figures clashed in aerial combat.
I'll
Both were
take this
winged.
to Twitch.
The angel's wings were pure white and shone brightly through the smoke and smog of war. The other was a creature of nightmare. Its demonic...
I'm being betrayed by my own people, Liam! Curse Knight, I see you guys. I see you. Betraying me. How dare you do this? You want war? I'll start a war.
Wings leathery and dark. As they wheeled above each other in the air, the warring troops below seemed to pause to watch the unfolding drama. Know this, creature of darkness.
I will not hear an insult for purple. Purple's a good ass colour. It's my second favourite colour. So, like, let's start. Bring the flavours. Dagon, you as well? Why are you all betraying me? This is how the Emperor felt. What the heck? You guys can't just turn on me like this. There are a lot of traitors. Yeah, exactly. Mateo is the one saying there's a lot of traitors right now. Like, what is this? You guys have been entrenched in chaos for weeks. You guys have been here in chaos, and yet you turn back to the Emperor almost immediately? I have been here, and I have supported you on the side of chaos. For Slaanesh! Yeah, to be fair, Dylan has always defended the Emperor. And I am an Emperor's child! I am of the Emperor's children! If you are of the Emperor's children, you are one of my comrades! Doesn't mean I'm not gonna nuke you. Well, wait till Twitch, man. Wait till Twitch. I'ma nuke you. And on Twitch, technically, I do have the bigger opportunity to do so. You wait. I'm gonna wait until I'm at my strongest, and then I'm gonna rain the nukes upon your Twitch. I founded your Twitch. You are sponsored by Chaos! You're a Drakari? That's cool. I've had my ball pistol handy in every stream, so I should have this coming. Yeah, to be fair, Liam, you always had the ball pistol. You threatened to call the commissar so many times. Like, to be honest, some of y'all I'm not surprised have betrayed me. Rylanor wants to have a word. Rylanor can go heck himself. He couldn't even kill Fulgrim. What, he did a bit of damage and now Fulgrim's fine. Rylanor can go fuck himself. Alright. I cannot believe I've been betrayed like this. I will have you know that your precious old man reacts. I'm a founder on the Twitch. I'm a founder, which means he is sponsored by Chaos. You all support him? He has been corrupted! He will be the next to fall! Welcome in, Captain. Yeah, everyone's doing war crimes. Nick, I know he does! I know he does! Reappraise? No, this is betrayal. I don't lie. I can show you all the badge. I have a badge on his stream. And that means, hi Leo, means that I sponsor him, which means Chaos sponsors him. In the name of Slaanesh, old man goes live. Time for exterminatus. I'm coming for all of you. Hi Void B, welcome in. But you are a traitor. You are all supporting a person who is funded by Chaos. You're all Garrow. You're all acting like I am Garrow right now, and you are Rogal Dorn, and you're telling me that I'm a liar. This is the truth. Listen to Garrow for the first time in your life. I am Chaos incarnate, but I am correct. I will show you carnage, old man. I will show you. I shall build my army and bring down you and everyone in the Imperium. Chaos will accept you all with loving, open arms. As the mother of Chaos, since it's Mother's Day, let's start there, I will rise. You started this, Liam. You may be on his side for now, but there will be a change in the breadth of war. The winds shall turn, and down old man shall come. And I shall be that fall. Why not marry it? I did, baby. We're gonna bring the orcs in, right? Where are my orcs? Where's Sean? Where's Dorian? I need my orcs in here. I need my orcs. I'm gonna take some snake that gets insta-clapped. Listen here. I know, Mateo. The nerve on the traitors. The nerve. Who is Fulgrim? Some kind of wannabe Vect? Y'all wanna be Rogal Dorn when Garrow told him Horus had turned? You be that way. But I'm telling you now, as a sponsor of Old Man on Twitch, therefore, I am Chaos, sponsoring him. He has been planted with the seed of Chaos, and none of you will listen, for you are blind. Yeah, I am kind of salty, Dan. A lot of y'all turned against me almost instantly, so the salt's real at this moment. Can't lie to you. But I'll come back. I will return. And I will show the true face of Chaos. He may have a scar. We are all scarred. Is there not a scar left on every Primarch from the Horus Heresy? Are you all not weakened by that feeling of betrayal that happened in that moment of Horus changing your brothers? Are you not all scarred? A single scar means nothing on the face of Fulgrim. The Great War continues. We will have a war. And this shall be a war. Listen here, Cursed. I can't believe so many of y'all turned around and betrayed me. I thought that y'all were bigger homies than this. only on the side of whoever's winning. I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna get you on side. You wait. When the tides turn and the wind changes, like, you'll be on my side, and that's okay, and we can be homies. Seeing as how he cries about it, we're all scarred. What is the dispute? Did I search your feelings? The dispute, Leo. So, I've been invaded by the Warpugs, but because Old Man has sent the nukes on me. Essentially, that is what's happened. And now half of everyone has truly betrayed me. I'd rather die than fall to chaos. Captain, I shall work on you the most. You will become a great ally. Get your nukes out of here. Get your damn nukes out of here. I'll nuke everything myself before I let it fall to the likes of the Imperium and the Warpugs. I would rather destroy everything I've built. Infiltrated by Kaladar's assassins. Chaos's inverted order. I can't believe Chaos has been invaded. Well, I'm bringing in the orcs. Where are my orcs? Captain, you shall be a friend of mine one day. Y'all. I feel like chaos on high doses of shrooms. I will make you part of mine. It's coming. Time for the accent. Let's go. We are the Pug Legion. None can surpass our nukes. Eco! Wait for it. Eco! Come here, baby girl. Are you ready to see the true face of chaos? For this is the true face of chaos! Oh, baby girl. You can keep your pugs. For the white marshmallow puppers are the representative of chaos. Didn't have... Funny. Ah! $10 I could get the puppet to turn, you could not. She is far too entrenched. This is who you're fighting. This, right here. Hey, baby girl. I'm gonna lift you up. Let me untangle your foot. Let me untangle your foot! Oh! Yeah, your foot's stuck. I know. Look. I'm under attack. Let me get your foot out. I'm trying so you don't get hurt. Sorry about this. My dog is an idiot. I'll bring the kitty. No, she didn't attack. She loved. She just loves like chaos, which is extremely unfortunate. Her chaos love leads to these things. But you could not turn this doggo. Did you turn people into space cocaine? She said, yeah. Listen here, you put those nukes away right now. But I also have a kitty, Void. So like, if you join me, there's also kitties. It's like saying I didn't get knocked out, I took a nap mid-flight. No, she just loves like the chaos. It just hurts. So yeah. Alright, you go be chaos with the dog, with the cat. Okay? Right, let me make sure you're not tangled. I do not want another cat incident where you break my headphones. If you break my headphones, I don't have any more to replace. Hey, I can see what face you're pulling. Nope. There you go. It's not a retreat, it's a tactical repositioning. Yeah, exactly. Nick, how dare you? How dare you come in dropping these nukes? Doggo, come back to the light. Oh, it's a tortoiseshell cat. She's adorable, but she also broke my last headphones, which is why I have to be really careful with the animals in these headphones. I will not be tempted by your tactful temptation of Doggo and Kitty. As if. As if. Getting so close to part 3, we are beta. Should we get back to this? Should we listen to more about Dorn? As much as I'm enjoying, I know, ironic that I'm enjoying your Celestial Lions video, it's like very true. Should we get back to Dorn? We can have this fight later. Do you guys want to listen to the sadness of Dorn with us? We're just hanging out and listening to Baldermort's Tale of Dawn. It's my birthday stream, so we're hanging out. Dorn put in so much work.
I will take my revenge on you for past evil, said the angel, as he plunged his sword into the demon's face, spearing one of its eyes. The demon shrieked, as if in pain, but wheeled about, lashing at the Primarch with its whip and chopping at him with its great axe. The demon's whip stung the Primarch's wing, and he...
Oh man reacts, did you get me the nuking? Is that what you brought me? There we go. Oh. Thank you! I'll listen while I'm not, I'm cooking here. Wait, what are you cooking? You legally have to tell me. So glad you've embraced the order of the birthday celebrations today. Yeah, we're gonna be just watching some Dawn and chilling out for the birth.
He faltered in the air slightly. As he did so, the bloodthirster grabbed him by the throat with its massive taloned fist. Sanguinius cut with his sword against the demon's flank. The beast flinched, but did not release. "Now you are finished, pathetic little bird," rumbled the demon, and he threw the Primarch down onto the gate below. The granite stone splintered as the Primarch's body smashed into it. The traitor horde watching roared their approval. The Primarch lay still upon the broken stone as the demon landed next to him and prepared to deal the death blow. The monster's creature threw back its head and let loose a howl of exultation. "Blood for the blood god, a skull for the skull throne." As the demon howled in triumph over him, Sanguinius drew up, his last reserves of strength and power. With a massive effort, he painfully rose to face Kabanda for the...
Wait, Barbie fried chicken and vegetable rice? That sounds amazing. Can I have some?
last time. Your cry of victory is mistimed, demon. I am not finished. My vengeance has yet to be taken. I shall not fall at this hour, not in your bloodied hand. And at this, Sanguinius leapt at the demon, and seized it by the wrist and ankle, and he raised the beast high and smashed it down across his knee. The crack of its back breaking shook the masonry upon which they stood and echoed across the palace grounds. The hordes below watched in silence. Sanguinius, now terrible in his aspect, lifted the carcass of the demon above his head. An arc of power danced in his brow as he swung the body around and hurled the broken behemoth into the midst of the demon followers.
The cringe does still making me laugh. You'll give me a super chat once you receive them. I won't get anything until I reach 1,000 followers. I can't even ask for technical help from YouTube until I get 1,000 subscribers. It's ridiculous. But by the way, I'm only less than 300 away. So if anyone knows 300 people, that'd be great.
The traitors beat their chests and wailed in dismay.
Captain Tybalt, I'd rather die.
The Blood Angels cheered, and the ultimate gate was shut. End quote. Thus did the gate close, and Rogal must have felt the most relief he had ever done in his life.
I know you do, old man, but it takes a lot to convince people to join a Slaanesh follower, which is why I'm only on like 700. I think if I was a follower of the Emperor, people would like me more, but I just can't lie about who I am.
For Sanguinius had survived, and had dealt a major wound to the
Okay.
morale of the animals that beset them. Thus it was the palace was held. And how long did all of this last? Rogal and Sanguinius inside, Jagatai outside. The battle had lasted for 55 days. 55 days. Against twice their number of Primarchs. Now infused with the power of the dark gods, some of them being demons unto themselves, evil augmenting their strength, with entire or part of 6 legions against a mere 3. Yet Rogal had held them for 55 days. And so, gentle listener, the dreaded moment draws near.
Yo, no way! Guys, we're on to the third one. We're on to the third one. Okay, you know how it is. Remember, we may be followers of... This lore has been updated since he released this. Have you got an update video that you may have published that I can look at? Everyone's asked me to do this for a long time. And I thought, what a better time than for my birthday when I'm just going to be sat here anyway. To watch 3 hours of Warhammer lore with the homies. Oh, you gotta go to bed? No worries. I hope you have an amazing night, Florin. And I'll see you soon. Not yet, but I can give you a quick synopsis. Well, while she writes up that synopsis, remember, guys. Yes, the third one's here, I think. Unless you mean, like, it's a bigger series than I thought it was. But the third one's here. That's what we're going to be watching now. Remember, get drinks. Get a quick walk, go to the bathroom, we'll meet back here in 2 minutes, we'll start the next one. Because we won't be moving for another hour. Wait, why are you sorry? Hey, this was one of my best birthday parties yet. I got invaded. Who gets invaded on the birthday? Barely anyone. But I did. That's Chaos Dreams. Oh, okay, I get you. But, oh, you thought they were still making books? Birthday nuke? Thank you. No, I really appreciate it, guys. Watch my, thing. I'll be right back. I'm just gonna go to the bathroom and make sure my dog's got some water as well as my cat. Brought to you by the Chaos Gods. In the name of Slaanesh.
Your favorite chaos-based role show.
That's some nice armor.
Welcome in, Rogal Dorn! Roll with Jellyman. Take Gorilla Man, Cleverman. People Gilgamesh.
Choose your side wisely.
Put it in the Beasterium.
I knew you were gonna. And rise up against the Emperor of Man. Brought to you by the Chaos Gods. In the name of Slaanesh.
Your favorite chaos-based role show.
That's some nice armor.
Welcome in, Rogal Dorn! Roll with Jellyman. Take Gorilla Man, Cleverman. People Gilgamesh.
Choose your side wisely.
Put it in the Beasterium.
I knew you were gonna. And rise up against the Emperor of Man. Brought to you by the Chaos Gods. In the name of Slaanesh.
Your favorite chaos-based role show.
That's some nice armor.
Welcome in, Rogal Dorn! Roll with Jellyman. Take Gorilla Man, Cleverman. People Gilgamesh. Choose your side wisely.
Put it in the Beasterium.
I knew you were the move. And rise up against the Emperor of Man.
Brought to you by the Chaos Gods. In the name of Slaanesh.
Your favorite chaos-based war show. That's some nice armor. Welcome in, Rogal Dorn! Robert Jellyman, take Gorilla Man, Cleverman, People Gilgamesh. Choose your side wisely.
Put it in the Beasterium.
I knew you were the move. And rise up against the Emperor of Man.
Brought to you by the Chaos Gods. In the name of Slaanesh.
Your favorite chaos-based war show. That's some nice armor. Welcome in, Rogal Dorn! Robert Jellyman, take Gorilla Man, Cleverman, People Gilgamesh. Choose your side wisely.
Put it in the Beasterium.
I knew you were the move. And rise up against the Emperor of Man.
Hi everyone, I'm back. They keep just making Angron's story sadder. Okay, so the update is basically the fight between Sang and Kabunda was an absolute massacre, and immediately after Angron came to fight Sang, Angron stabbed him with a poisoned blade. But the fight ended up with Angron screaming for mercy while Sang ripped the butcher's nails out of his head. Angron actually remembered himself at the end, but he was looking up at Sang. Sang was struggling to hold back the black rage. Angron can't catch a break. Fudge. Right, let's go. Back into Baldermort. The final one, guys. We made it.
Welcome, gentle listener. I will assume you have watched the first 2 acts in this, my report on Rogal Dorn. If you have not...
No way! Thank you so much! 740? We're only 260 away from partner! Thank you, Void. That's crazy. Thank you guys so much.
then I would gently encourage you to
We're
do
doing it.
so. But let us now continue with this tale. The tale of the Primarch of the 7th Legion, the Legiones Astartes.
I would never have thought 5 months ago that I would be this far into Warhammer. But it's been a really cool journey.
Praetorian of Terra, Rogal Dorn. It was soon after that the forces of chaos discerned something, the one thing they had dreaded more than anything else. The wolf, Leman Russ, the lion, himself, El Johnson, and Gulliman, who commanded the largest legion, were finally arriving.
Damn.
Their ruse was up, their time had elapsed, their war was over.
I know.
With these forces arriving, the battle would soon shift in the favour of the Loyalists.
No, I didn't think it was real. So for those who don't know, that's actually a joke, because I got tricked into learning about Warhammer because one of my Twitch followers was making up this story of lore, and I didn't realise he was actually mimicking everything from 40k. And then when I started a reaction like IRL channel, he was like, oh, you should watch this video, and it was Hell's Reach. And then I was like, yo, wait, all this stuff that you were telling me is like a real thing? And it was. And now I'm into Warhammer, and here we are.
And the traitors could well be crushed like so many sour grapes beneath the feet of the righteous. But those on Terra were woefully unaware of this. Horus kept their long-range Auspex scanners blind. The forces of chaos, those dark gods who had set this catastrophe in motion to slay their enemy, the one man they called the Anathema, the Emperor of Mankind. They surrounded Terra with such psychic force that even the Master of Mankind could not pierce their obfuscations and discern the impending return of his mighty sons and their legions. Horus had no choice. He made one last desperate toss of the dice. He challenged the Emperor.
Yes, I did. Captain, you would be surprised how deep I've gotten. I started doing my own lore videos, like, we're too far gone.
How did he do so from his flagship in high orbit, one might ask? Very simple, gentle listener. He dropped the shields that prevented the Royalists from teleporting up to his very decks. He made this move blatantly, so it could not possibly be missed by Rogal and his father, the Emperor. Again, the die was cast. The Emperor retreated from his war in the Webway and asked his oldest comrade, Malcador.
I think we're still finishing the Mistakes of the Emperor series. I think I've got 2 more episodes left. And then we'll start doing the polls again.
To take his place on the Golden Throne. It was decided. The Emperor would take the field personally and end this insurrection the only way it could ever be done, by taking the head of the great betrayer with his own hand. Rogal and Sanguinius marshalled the greatest of their warriors, and the Emperor would take a selection of his custodian guard. They prepared to teleport themselves directly to the bridge of the flagship of the traitor, to appear on the bridge with the Vengeful Spirit.
Wait, why? What's going on with the trailer? Wasn't it done when I last saw it? Or have you decided you wanted to change it again? Come on, old man. It looked great. I was a huge fan. Come on. Don't push yourself to the point of ruining something that's already amazing.
Rogal must have felt an itch in the back of his mind, a feeling of something amiss. He knew that something was wrong, for he was a Primarch. His father was present for one of the few times he had seen him in years, due to his labours in the Webway and the Warp, so he felt confident. But something was amiss. The angel moved differently, his bearing too sombre for one such as he, as if he were already resigned to something. His smile too warm, as if to say... But there was no time for analysis now. They were to assail the dragon in his lair.
Can you not do what I do? When I've got really intensive projects, I export it and use it as a video file over the top of all videos, because my computer ran into the same problems when I was like editing things. So I found having them as separate exports and putting them into one piece after they've been posted, it really does work. It's what I had to do.
Forces of the Emperor strode to their teleportarum and amassed for the assault.
So see, y'all all nuke me and drop yourselves on the Chaos Queen, and realistically, I am a supporter and assistant of Old Man, which is where the corruption from Chaos comes from that y'all don't believe is happening. Here I am as Garrow.
Rogal and his hand-picked Terminator guard, heavily armoured beyond even that of a normal set of power armour of the Space Marines, appeared.
I appreciate it.
But the shock of the translation into the very depths of the Vengeful Spirit was thrice-fold and ghastly beyond my vocabulary to describe. The walls of the Vengeful Spirit were festooned with eyes and mouths that screamed endless cacophonies of blasphemy, of
honestly, this was a heck of a birthday. Liam, put that nuke down now.
hate and pain. It was a vision of perdition made manifest, where all was degradation and twisted nightmare. Any normal mortal's mind would have shattered, and they would have ripped out their own eyes from the horror they were subjected to just by viewing this infernal scene. Rogal
I'll convert more of you than you would ever believe.
Saw the future of the galaxy if Horus and his dark puppet masters won out. If there was ever vindication for his struggles, he had it now, aplenty. But that was only the first initial reaction, no matter how deep it struck him. His shock was terrible when he realized that the teleportation had been disrupted.
Nick, I can see you.
For he could not see a single custodian guard. He could not see the Emperor anywhere. Nor could he see a sign of his brother Sanguinius, nor his own personal guard. They had been separated. Dorn, the warrior within this man, was calm, and got immediately to the work, as they were almost immediately assailed by endless throngs of perversions and traitors that were twisted beyond parody. But with a feeling that must have been akin to rising panic, Rogal knew that his force had arrived at the very furthest point from the bridge. He would have to fight his way the entire...
Yes, actually. And fun fact, Old Man Reacts will actually be on this channel voicing one of the characters, or more than one of the characters, of my Hammer series. So look up for some collaborations in the Warhammer world, and I would 100% react with other people. I'd love it.
...by a length of this vessel to reach the bridge, and potentially his brother and father. They were beset on all sides, and would have to wade through Terra upon Terra, abominations without count. Alas, as one of the largest vessels ever wrought by human hand, the ship was some 20 kilometers long.
Well, that's a hint of a different collaboration. I wasn't going to mention that. Oh, hell yeah. Beta, anytime. But yeah, I wasn't going to tell him that, but, you know. The Loretta script is almost there. I'm excited.
Rogal did the only thing he could, and moved with the speed of a god as he began the longest journey of his life, the battle to the bridge of the Vengeful Spirit. His projectile weapons soon ran out of ammunition, and soon he and his guards advanced, fighting every inch of the way to the bridge. Miles. But he never tired, never let a moment pause where his mighty arm was not raised to swing and slice with his trusted blade. As the seconds became minutes, the minutes became hours. The wake of blood and viscera from he and his men was without measure.
I considered getting my sword then, and I was like, no, I've got a lot of them, and I don't know which one I'd pick. I do know which one I'd pick, but it's underneath something, so I'm like, I won't grab it. But just be aware, I do have a lot of weapons. That's one of your favourite of his videos? Well, someone you know may be involved in the next one. I don't know who that could be, but maybe someone you know.
The salt of twisted scum never ending. But then, something changed. Oh, how it changed. The very walls of the ship changed the pitch of their cacophony, and went from shouting blasphemies to a never-ending wail of lament. The figures who had beset them now fled and ran, screaming in terror and woe. Rogal, despite his fatigue, must have given internal bellow of victory, for only one thing could have changed the passages and their denizens so.
Thanks, guys.
The Emperor must have done it. His father must have slain Horus. The War Master was bested. The dream would rise like a phoenix, and the world would be well and right again. They had won.
Hammer?
With a fleetness of foot that can only be attributed to joy, the way now clear, Rogal charged to the head of the ship to embrace his father and his brother. Joy. All of his efforts had not been in vain. The years, The young men and women in their millions and billions he had sent to their deaths against this outrage. The toil of an entire race had been worthwhile. Humanity had gazed into the very pit, the dark gods of the warp, of the worst that could ever be thrown at them, and had spat into evil's eye.
Really? You think?
A new dawn was about to begin. They had won.
Have they? We'll see. It's not over yet. This is an ongoing war. It's never over.
And so, gentle listener, we arrive at the moment, what I call the longest second. One must remember that a Primarch, any Primarch, is a being of magnitude greater than a normal human. They had faculties almost beyond the scope of human understanding, could discern.
Wait, so is this where I'm gonna cry? Should I pay ultimate attention? Am I about to cry?
And things that
Ready.
would be impossible for a normal mortal to discern. Sherlock Holmes or Poirot could take hours of meticulous study and dissection of a situation before coming to the conclusions that a Primarch could glean in a second. And thus, with this explanation done, let us progress to the moment I have been avoiding, forestalling.
Oh.
It is almost too difficult to narrate, no matter how many times I have tried to do so clearly. Let us see the longest second. I will now show you a picture that any Warhammer enthusiast, in fact, most people, will have seen in their lives, but never truly understood. For everyone thinks that they are looking into the bridge of the Vengeful Spirit. It is merely a painting, a description. But
We all know what this is.
It is the heart of Warhammer, its soul. For what is shown is what Rogal Dorn was confronted with. So harsh, so terrible. For Rogal tore back the bulkhead and was confronted with it. And in that 1 second, the longest second, the part of this being, the man called Rogal, died. He died the worst way a man can ever die. He died of a broken heart.
Is that why he's boring?
The image you see contains the figures of Horus, the Emperor, and Sanguinius. You may initially think that this cannot be, as the figures are standing and the Emperor seems to be about to confront his son Horus. But give me your ear, and let me explain my reading of the content. For Rogal Dorn knew the fighting style, the capabilities and failings, the strengths and weaknesses of each individual therein contained. His Primarch mind took it all in, compromised it all, in just 1 second. The wounds on each, the scars, the scuffs on the floor, the blasts on the walls. It painted a picture that a mere human cannot fathom. In that instant, Rogal not only saw the result of the confrontation, he would have played out every last swing of sword, every last gasp and grapple, every last action that had taken place in that room. He would know what happened, when, between whom and how. In the longest second, Rogal saw it all. And it was the end of Rogal. Why? Because he had seen it. The end. He had seen his most beloved brother toyed with, his valor and the mild injury he dealt to a being, his own brother, Horus, magnified by the power of chaos. He saw Sanguinius arrive early. He saw Sanguinius arrive alone. He saw Sanguinius' fury and desperate battle, how Horus had disarmed him with a backward swing, and then taken his gloved hand and raised him up, crushing Sanguinius' windpipe and snapping his neck. Then his nonchalant tossing of the body of the angel onto the ground, like refuse. He would have seen the Emperor then enter the room, would have known that words were exchanged, a plea from father to son to end this path, to return to him, that all could be forgiven. He would have predicted the sneer from Horus, and the offer spat back in his father's face. The clash of arms, the battle begun. He would have known the Emperor could not unleash his power, his full skill on this, his most beloved, his first found son, Horus. He would have known, seen even, how Horus had played on this and pressed the advantage, how Horus had fought and then ground the Emperor down, forever thinking he was actually the greater being. So much had the dark powers whispered promises of invulnerability and then heady platitudes into his ears. Horus actually thought he was toying with his father, whereas the Emperor was held back out of love. Yes, even the Emperor was capable of that. How Horus then cut off his arm, how Horus blasted his father with infernal powers, and burst one of his eyes and seared the skin from his sire's face. How he took him and raised what he thought was a defeated carcass over his head and brought it down, breaking the Emperor's back. Rogal would have seen another figure, a voyeur witnessing the struggle of gods, and how he interceded and stood before the Emperor's carcass. How Horus had laughed and destroyed that brave soul who stood before a god to defend his liege. And in that instant, Rogal would know how the Emperor, the father, would see that there was nothing left of his son to save, and how he then marshalled his power and unleashed it. Horus was near destroyed. But, like a vampire of legend, the blow had forced the evil from him, and his face returned to that which Rogal knew. His big brother, Lupercal, was gone, and only Horus remained again. Rogal would notice the tear trails on the face of Horus, and knew the regret as the scales were removed from his eyes and he had seen the horror he had caused, the billions dead, his father broken, his brother dead by his hand.
Funny.
How Horus would have howled in pain. And Rogal would know that the father would then have shown a kind of mercy, knowing full well that Horus could turn again at any second and become a vessel and vassal of the dark gods once more, but also because he knew Horus so well. The Emperor knew him. The father knew that the son would never be able to forgive himself for the tyranny and pain he had brought to the world. So, as an act of prevention, yes, but more a last action of love, the Emperor again marshaled the last of his power and destroyed every last trace of the soul of Horus. Nothing would ever remain to be used again. Horus, his greatest and most loved son, was destroyed so thoroughly that nothing could ever be done to return him to plague the galaxy, nor to feel the weight of the pain of his actions ever again. Worse still for Rogal. Horus must have returned to the state of being that Rogal would have remembered so well. Would know the evil he was by the travesty of his armor and the surroundings and company he kept. But in that instant, Rogal would have gazed at Horus, the Horus he remembered, the uncorruptible titan of hope and justice,
Wasn't that incorruptible?
but with no even hint of his soul remaining. Such a cruel vision. For now he could not be elated at the destruction of a twisted foe. He would have to mourn all over again the loss of his closest and respected big brother, all over again. Yet still there is more.
This is more showing me that the Imperium is cringe. Imagine being bogged down by these emotions of, oh, I saw my brother die, so I became the most boring man in the universe. Come on. Rodent Snorn is just Rodent Snorn at this point. I think it's a very cool look into the Horus Heresy from a different point of view. One of the brothers that obviously stayed on the side of the Imperium, getting a real view of things. However, I think it doesn't justify how boring Rodent Snorn is. Personally.
I have stated before that from my reading of the lore that Rogal believed. He believed in the Crusade and the Emperor and the Imperium. He believed that his father had no choice in his action.
How droll. Listen. I always forget you despise human emotions. I'm autistic. We don't got them 99% of the time. I can feel hunger. That's a pretty big one for me. But no, I think it's a cool look at an alternative side of the view. But like at the same point, if he's so hell-bent on destroying chaos, why is he that arsed? I'm gonna have to write that one down. Wait, which one? We'll run out of bird crap. The Black Templars can come. Like, hey, I can party with the Black Templars.
The only way to save humanity was for him to take control directly, despite no...
The one thing I do think is cool is that Rogal's like army is on an eternal crusade, so that like the Black Templars are constantly crusading, so they never know how many numbers there are, and that means they're never technically breaking the law. That's funny. As a lawyer, I appreciate that kind of ingenuity in adapting the law to your own purpose. That's funny to me. That even in a post-apocalyptic universe, people are still fucking around with the law.
Knowing he was revealing himself to the dark powers of the warp, and that they would never tire from their quest to destroy him. For they wished humanity be their plaything, a banquet for all time in perpetuity. Rogal believed more than any Primarch, but in this room, he knew the Imperium died.
Good.
For if any of the three people who were destroyed had lived, the dream of the Imperium could continue and be healed. The Emperor was its king, its architect and protector. Horus was its greatest warrior, and held the dream sacrosanct before his corruption, and truly understood the dream, and how to fight for it, and what it was for, the salvation of humanity. And Sanguinius, he was its very soul. He exemplified all that was best and brightest in humanity. He was the shining promise of the future.
Exactly.
Sanguinius was the Imperium.
The space furries are hilarious. I love them. Not only because they're space furries, but because they do just ignore all the law and they go, no, we don't accept that. That doesn't line up with what we want to do, so no. How about that? And then Gilliman's just like, what?
He was the goal. So that one day all humans everywhere across the galaxy and beyond.
You're like, Liam, it's true. It's true, and I think that's really cool. Because it said no man could do that. And they were like, well, let's get women to do it. Like, I think that's really cool. And I do... Sean! Welcome in! Sean, where were you? I called my orcs. I got attacked by Old Man Reacts, and he sent nukes. And I was like, I needed my orcs to support. And y'all just... You weren't here. Gork more could be upset. But welcome in.
Could be as he. Sanguinius was a promise made manifest. It was a result of the Crusade and the Imperium. Only Conrad was not present. Horus was to win the Imperium. Rogal was to build the Imperium. Sanguinius was to be the Imperium. And Conrad Curse was to protect it and enforce its law. But Conrad could not match the power of the darkness within him, the darkness
I did need more Daka.
that was the Night Haunter, and he had fallen so long ago that Rogal had forgotten. But now he was reminded. But without them, without its philosopher general, without its soul, without its king, the dream was lost. Rogal could not do it alone. Rogal also knew, all in this 1 second, that without the Imperium, his race was doomed. It would not be immediate, but it was now inevitable. He witnessed not only the death of his father, his brother, and his hope, his dream, and his reason to continue. Rogal saw the very future of humanity. Its death.
Thank God.
All in this 1 second.
I
The
wish humanity would
longest
just die.
second in fiction. The longest second any human had ever experienced,
Is he technically human if he's a demigod?
or ever will. But it still continues. The torture for Rogal kept on and on. For many theorized that the Emperor gave something of himself to every one of his Primarchs, but, in my view, that denuded him of these emotions, these feelings. When Rogal went to find the broken body of his father, he knew he was alive, but only barely.
Also, Sean, half of the chat turned against me. Like, there's a lot of people here who have turned against me for the name of the Imperium and the Imperium and the Warpugs. So we need to build the army.
And Rogal looked into the Emperor's one remaining eye. and
That's funny,
sighed.
Captain. I think we'll get along good.
For I believe the reason that the Emperor of Mankind kept Rogal close was because of the very faith he had. He believed in the Imperium so very much. He believed in the dream. So when the final word was to be received, when Horus was to send the greatest of all communications, the word that the Crusade had finally done what was thought impossible but seemed so probable, when the Emperor left his most able son in charge. The completion of the Crusade. The final message that stated, mankind is now safe. I believe, like a jaded old man, world-weary, and now incapable of experiencing joy, because he had given up so much of himself.
So, like, this is what I'm saying. He gave up his joy, so that means the reason he is so boring is because of this. That's such a, like, cop-out, you know what I mean? Like, God.
To his Primarchs, his sons. He had kept Rogal close, just so he could look into his eyes and see the joy contained therein. So the Emperor of Man could bask in his son's elation, like a father at Christmas. Instead, the Emperor looked at the reflection of his broken body.
Kinda. That would be funnier for me.
And saw that only Dorn stared at him. He witnessed the death of Rogal, and Dorn would have seen that reflected in his Our Father's eye as well. The pain passed back and forth, the loss unfathomable, and magnified as they stared. The death of humanity was now certain. From the very jaws of salvation, defeat and extinction now loomed. Inevitable is the rising of the sun. The dark powers had won. No matter that Horus had been defeated, they had won. So Dorn brought his father back to Terra and took down his final instructions, his final plans.
Nah, fam, you don't get it. After this, Dorn goes full Black Templar. He just does it out of grief, depression, and rage. Really is hard to judge any character without a good book in my mind. I thought the Khan was boring until the Warhawk book. Rogal Dorn's thoughts, the dream is gone, we sacrificed everything, now comes the stagnation, the loss, I have failed. He did fail.
But both knew they were but forestalling the end, grasping for the path that would lead to the longest death rattle for humanity. The Imperium and the dream were dead. Dorn then placed his father in the machine known as the Golden Throne, the life-extending and power-magnifying alien object that would maintain him until the 41st millennium, 10,000 years later. But never truly alive. Always teetering on the edge of death, holding on for the sake of his race, but never able to recover, repair, or save his life and the hope he had for his people. Dorn found that his brothers had arrived, that the Blood Angels and his own sons had charged the enemy lines when
Harley's thoughts, I love the fishes because they're so delicious. Got goldfishes, I could eat them every day and my mum says that's okay. Listen. I haven't got a mum, so therefore I can do whatever I want because no one can stop me. I am the mum. Like, I'm now the mom. So therefore, I can destroy everything. And who's going to stop me? Why are you thinking of Tau? Rogal was born boring. He went unboring after these events, Leo. I disagree. I think he's still boring. I don't think he's at all more interesting. I also want barbecue, so should we all get barbecue after this? Birthday barbecue? Sounds good, right? Bobby G was kind of the same way. Kind of dark Imperium to make him interesting, but the nerd working behind the scenes tend to be the deadliest. Ward. I love Ward. Well, I don't, because obviously he did some wild stuff, but Ward, my favourite meme of 40k.
in the advent of the death
Beta, you always come in here and say a food that I want without
of
fail.
Horus was plain. to the entire demonic and traitor hordes that they had fled from their righteous wrath, and that the blood angels had felt their sire die. Dorn took his men, led his remaining brothers on a crusade of wrath and of penitence, for although Rogal was gone, Dorn, the warrior, was ashamed. He was so guilty that he had fought so hard for so long, and at the very last had failed. His rage was cold, and he exacted butchery from the butchers.
I'm not praising Ward, I just think he was hilarious. I just think he's hilarious. Who is going to stop me? Infamous last words. Listen here, Nick. You'll have already dropped nukes, and here I am, standing tall, getting to the end of my rodent snorn episode. Here comes the fun part. All right, I'll wait. And shrimp rolls. Oh, I love shrimp. I love shrimp so much. Go Chaos! All right. I will be quiet. Let's just enjoy.
And chased them all to the edges of space, and then finally into the Eye of Terra over a campaign of years. When Dorn returned from his great campaign of vengeance, he found that he had been supplanted. For not all evil is warp generated, not all wrongs are from without. The warp was only a reflection that collected and magnified the evil within the hearts and minds of those in the corporeal world. The amplification of jealousy. Reboot was left in charge of what was left of the broken Imperium. To give him his due, Reboot organized well and restructured and defended humanity, while Dorn and his brothers performed the scouring. But Reboot had elevated himself, had become enamored of his own authority, with too long without anyone to gainsay him. So he supplanted Dorn, the man who had taken the last instructions from the Emperor before he ceased to speak, and gained such authority that to disagree with Reboot was seen as treason. When Reboot Gilliman produced his Codex Astartes, a document that stated that no man should ever command such power of
I still think this is a dumb idea. I think separating the legions was entirely against what the Emperor wanted, and I do think, whilst he may have done it out of necessity, it was dumb.
Legion of Astartes again.
Mostly because Chaos will not do this. Chaos won't do this. Chaos will maintain as big a legion as they want. They're not going to follow the Codex Astartes. You're just moving the goalpost for yourself and no one else. Dumb.
That all of the legions should be broken into units of only 1,000 men, the chapters. He stripped Dorn and his brothers of their only remaining reason, to take from them their very sons.
Wait, what about me?
Dorn declared he would not do it. Never. Naval ships under the reason that Dorn...
That's, I said, as possible. What I'm saying is, they don't have the restrictions. Like, you know what I mean? They don't have the restrictions that are held. Holding ourselves to restrictions on the side of the Imperium is different to the Chaos, like, separating if they want to. It is just a case of they are putting unnecessary restrictions on themselves. They kill, yeah, we kill each other out of reasons. Someone disrespects me, I don't care if we're the same legion, I probably would kill him. Chaos isn't the most organized thing. Like, I agree. Every Chaos Legion would disagree. I don't think they'd disagree with the fact that saying that they could have a max of 1,000. This was about decentralizing powers, it was more intelligent structure idea. I don't agree. I think there were better ways they could have done it. Great feat picks war. I'm going to need some details on that because we've just talked about feet. Codex main problems is the specified limit is too small. Rather than 1,000, it should have been 3 to 4 times that. And Chaos is split between too many warbands who fight each other too. Like, don't disagree. Like, I think Chaos could get their shit together too. I'm not saying Chaos is perfect, I'm just saying I'm a follower of Chaos. The Chaos Legions kind of just kill each other, not to mention the Great Game. What's the Great Game? Robert took control, aka strong-armed everyone because his Legion was still bigger than everyone else. Exactly. He came in, he hadn't really been part of this whole thing because they were, fuck knows where, because they were sent away. So it's like, they were in a better position to be able to make these kind of demands that other legions couldn't have.
Dorn had defied Reboot, actually fired on one of the Imperial Fist vessels. Dorn was facing compliance or another civil war, one that would hasten the expiration extinction of the human race. Dorn.
And I'm waiting for the human race to be exterminated. That, like, I know that will never happen, because they can't do it, because it'd ruin too much of Warhammer for people. But, like, I have a headcanon where humanity is destroyed. With a swell guy and never recovered. What's a swell guy? I mean, at Baal, Dante had a full legion. Still, it's Dante, come on.
Took himself into seclusion, and used an item only known as the Pain Glove to inflict untold pain on his body, so that he could meditate in peace. Dorn came out of that meditation with a simple decision. His sons would not be parted from him, and would not bow to
DM me the link.
Reboot Guilliman. So they had to be sacrificed. They had to undergo their own Pain Glove. They had to atone. They would go to a place, a trap, known only as the Iron Cage, which I will describe in more detail in the future, if I can gain the heart to do so. And there, in the trap laid by Perturabo of the Iron Warriors, specifically made to taunt Dorn, he attacked, knowing well that, like Abraham,
I've just added it to my Watch Later playlist, so it's on the list. I'll probably do it, actually. Next Sunday, I've got... there goes your paragraph. I'm actually doing your... not your Famished Vintage Law. I'm doing your Mistakes of the Emperor again next week on Sunday, so I'll do it at the beginning of that video.
He sacrificed his sons to death in the name of the Emperor. For Reboot would brook no challenge, and would not trust another Primarch to ever wield the power of a legion again. And so they died. Perhaps they would have all died, if Guilliman had not led his Marines, his Ultramarines, to the site and intervened to save the last of them. The shame of it. But Dorn was a Primarch only now. He would not feel the shame that Rogal would have. Affronted.
Is that in the suggestions page of the Discord? If it is, just put it back in for me or pin it. Maybe Magnus can invade the Imperium again and get killed by some furry breaking a keg over his head.
Yes. The shame. No. For, in my reading of the lore...
Also, Magnus did nothing wrong.
I suspect that Dorn took the sons of Rogal and allowed them to be slaughtered to see if there was anything of Rogal left. Any last vestige of the man who dreamed a dream of the future. If anything remained of Rogal, he would awaken then, or not at all. Dorn was satisfied. There was nothing left of him. Rogal was dead. Only Dorn remained. The Legion remnants were then broken into the chapters of 1,000 men that Guilliman demanded. Some records say that only 3 chapters were possible.
Magnus did nothing wrong. We've had many a debate about this, Captain. If you want to join the debate, like, feel free, but hear me out. Magnus did nothing wrong. It was actually a failure of the Emperor.
So few of the Imperial Fists there were left after the Iron Cage. The Imperial Fists were the first 1,000, the Crimson Fists the second, and the Black Templars the last. Only 3,000 sons of Dorn from nearly 100,000 at the beginning of the Heresy.
I hope so.
Other reports state other things, but we shall go through them in a different time. Dorn went on to fight against the enemies of the Imperium, and it is said that he was ferocious, but without mercy or pity. For these were traits of Rogal, not Dorn. And Rogal, he was left on the bridge of the Vengeful Spirit, forever experiencing that longest second. Perhaps it is better this way. Dorn was said to have been killed on a traitor ship when they burst from the Eye of Terra, the warp, in one of their many raids into real space. There is some contention over this from fans, however. The only thing that was left was his hand. Since then, his sons, the Imperial Fists, have kept it as a sacred keepsake and icon left on the phalanx, his mighty vessel of war, and the Imperial Fist's home. Each chapter master has since then scrimjawed their name upon the very bones.
So I'm going to tell you guys a funny story. So when I was a kid, me and my brother had these electric body plates that if you shot, you get an electric shock. So we used to turn them up all the way and play like electric tag. So yeah, I think I'd be fine with the pain glove. Yo, what's this?
The hand
Welcome in.
of Rogal Dorn. There are theories that this is not the case, and that Dorn may not be dead, and exists on Terra in the palace.
It really does explain a lot of my personality. I did Tough Mudder a couple times, but do you know what? If you guys don't know what Tough Mudder is, it's a 13-mile obstacle course, and at the end there was like these electrical dangling wires, and I was running through it, and anyone that hit me just felt like nothing because I used to do that as a kid, and I was like, everyone was like, these hurt, and I was like, these are a picnic. You should have seen what I got shocked with as a child, and people were just like. But yeah, it does explain a lot.
Hidden, watching over the husk that is the body of the Emperor of Mankind. I personally can think of no worse fate for this son, for this man.
Completely agree with you, Nick. His mistakes can't be his own because they were directly influenced by decisions that the Emperor made. The Emperor's the one who failed Magnus.
For if Rogal had truly lived, then he would have had to watch his dream, his dead dream,
Warsmith, I like that.
decay day by day, year by year, century by century, like a parent watching their child decay in front of them, and never being able to look away, never being able to gain one single moment of respite. This theory I cannot bear for the legend, the hero, the man who fought so hard for so long, and nearly, so very nearly, prevailed against half of his brothers.
Agreed.
Those demigods, practically single-handed. It is too grimdark.
I don't know if we've got time for another Magnus debate. If you guys remember what happened during watching TTS, because for those who didn't know me then, we watched The Emperor Does TTS in one continuous sitting. So there's like 3 15 to 17 hour... under 12. I made sure it was under 12 because of it. There's like 3 12-hour videos of me watching just The Emperor Does... like, if The Emperor had TTS. And we got into a huge Magnus the Red debate. And it's still ongoing in the community from that.
Even for me. So I hope Dorn did die on that vessel, fighting despite the fact that it would have been suicide by chainsword.
But it was fun though, right, Liam?
By the hand of his enemy. For Dorn would never be killed by the likes of them. I hope this with all my heart.
Oh, I hope not. We're right at the end. Guys, the birthday should
I
be almost
had
over.
intended to leave the story there, as that is what is known and canon, as many say. And after eating, sleeping, dreaming this tale for so long, I was desolate. To do what I hope you agree is really get inside the shoes, the skin of Rogal. I had to bend my entire will to his existence, his experience, his perspective, his life, and his pain. My deepest woe.
Dan, in my defense, I agreed to watch it all in one sitting before I knew that they weren't all 5 minutes. I didn't realize they got longer as the series went on. I should have, but I didn't. So I agreed to it, not truly knowing what I was undertaking. And by the time I knew, I wasn't going to bitch out. You know what I mean? I'm not going to be known as like the person that was like, yeah, I'll watch this in one sitting and then didn't. Nah, it's not my style.
Was for a man, such a man as Rogal, to give up, to give in.
Congratulations, you played yourself.
To end the story defeated. This great titan who had endured so much. So desolate was I could not see how I could continue to do this if the byproduct was such emotional disruption.
Agreed.
But then I read the comments section and was enlightened. So for one last time, put your hand in mine, gentle listener, and let me take you on another journey.
Okay.
Let me tell you what this bard thinks has happened, or will, in the future. For I realized I was wrong in my reading. The story of the Warhammer world does indeed mutate and progress. Once, the idea that a Primarch would return was laughable. They were only background to add verve to the setting, but not so now. We have been told that they will all return in their own way, but comparatively soon. If this were the case, then how could this be managed? How could the Primarchs have been gone so long and done so little, while all of this time had passed? Then I took the one word, just one word, from a fellow fan called Seladrin, Dinar, and it all fell into place.
Damn, that's a hell of a shout out.
For Corvus Corax went into the Eye of Terra. Jagatai went into the Webway. Vulcan appears to defeat the beast, but then inexplicably disappears again. Russ goes into the warp, and the lion sleeps. So much I still believe is true, but Reboot has returned. Dorn is reported dead, only his hand
That would be funny.
remaining. But what if? Just what if Black Library and Games Workshop intend to tell a different story for a new century? They have mentioned Reboot having a round table. The king lies crippled and dying and awaits a cure. How very Arthurian. What if Horus is not Satan, as some state? What if he is Mordred? What if Rogal was not
Maybe.
Michael after all? What if he is Galahad? But what if Rogal is not dead? What if during the Pain Glove experience, his father contacted him and showed him he was not dead either, just crippled, as some state? What if Rogal still believes? Can anything stop this man when he believes?
Damn.
What if the Master of Mankind sent Rogal, his Galahad, the only Primarch left he could trust with this task? A quest, a way out, a cure. What if Rogal spoke to his brothers? What if they agreed that one of them had to remain to guard the Imperium? Reboot would be the choice, but he did not trust them. Perhaps they feared that he would try to stop them, liking his power and position too much to surrender it, even to its rightful lord. Perhaps that is unfair, and they just did not wish to burden him with their knowledge. Each of the Primarchs has gone into a separate realm, for even a deep sleep, as in the case with the Lion, can be said to be another realm as well, the realm of dreams. Vulcan, to return,
Weird.
just to save the Imperium, then vanish again. And in one of the most modern books, he has stated to a son of Dorn that he will tell his father about him. Did the brothers, led by one man, the man who spoke last with their father face to face, ask him to put down his quest just for a time, and when the danger of the beast was averted, to return to their number and quest again? What if Rogal led his brothers again as he once did, and they are the knights looking for the Grail? Utterly ungrimdark ghouls may say, but why not? I never said they would succeed. For me, I like to think now that Rogal is still alive, not just Dorn.
To be fair, I do believe he is probably still alive.
And that Rogal is searching for that cure, that Grail that will rejuvenate the Emperor, and allow him to take his place on the throne once more, to lead humanity, and restore the dream of the Imperium. For I believe that there is only one person who could do this. Not a god, not a Primarch, but a man who believes. Rogal. So in homage of this dream, I would ask that the battle cry of those players of the Imperial Fist, Black Templars and Crimson Fists, match my own. For if you believe, then do not shout his clan name, for it is the man, not the god, we should laud. Shout not for Dorn. Reach for your paintbrushes, reach for your glue, reach for your dice and join me. If you believe, then echo my words. For humanity, for the Imperium, for their Emperor, but most of all, for Rogal.
I didn't realise that you say that all the time. I didn't realise that was what Old Man says. Corrupts is the walk teaching at Iloga that a group of crows is called a murder. That's so funny. You reach with your bolter and shoot Dawn. Please do. God, it would make my life easier. Everyone! That was the birthday stream. I said we were going to get through all of it. We did. Thank you all for coming in. And a big thanks to the invasion from Old Man and all the war pugs. Wait. Warsmith, I'm waiting. Thank you. I appreciate that. It's been a really fun birthday with you guys. I do want to do a little plug for myself. On Monday, I am going to be streaming my birthday stream on Twitch. You guys know that's my main platform. So do consider coming there. But also tonight, Old Man is going to be live on Twitch himself, playing something of Salem. I can't remember the name of it, sorry man. But you should check it out. Because a supporter of me is a supporter of Old Man. Quite clearly. Y'all betrayed me. It's Tuesday. It's Tuesday. Thank you, Dan. It's Tuesday.
So thank you all for coming in. I really do appreciate you guys. Consider coming to my birthday where we play community games. This was enjoyable for a first time. Stan, I really appreciate that. We're a pretty cool group. I am a big fan of everyone. I've only been here for a few months, but y'all are amazing. It's Salem or Among Us. Okay, there we go. So it's Salem or Among Us. Do check him out. You guys all know Old Man at this point. But if you like this video, please do leave a like, subscribe, and you know, you can turn on my notification bell if you really fancied it. I am proud of you all for getting through today. Even more proud of you for getting through tomorrow. Arrivederci, arrivederci, good as should is. Alloway go. Peace! I'll see y'all in the next one.